Chapter 421. I really like Guagua. Cheng hugged the woman in his arms tightly. I love you so much. I wish that my life was as long as yours. I want to be by your side forever. Cheng, you've become greedy and talkative. Cheng, your image has collapsed. Tangwa caressed his eyes. But you're a little cute. You're so cute. Tangwa smiled and leaned into his ear. I can't help but tell you a secret. Cheng's eyes lit up and he smiled lovingly. He kissed her cheek. What secret? Actually, I'm not her, Tangwa said softly in his ear. Cheng was not surprised. He leaned into her ear and said, Actually, I know you're not her. The two of them looked into each other's eyes and smiled at the same time. There was no need to say anything else. They both understood. For the entire day and night, Cheng did not close his eyes. When he was awake, he kept staring at the woman in his arms. He could not bear to part with her. He could not bear to part with her. As his consciousness became more and more blurry, his arms tightened. He was afraid that he would lose the woman in his arms and never find her again. In the end, he used all his strength and wanted to kiss those sweet lips again, but he could not get close. Just as he was about to give up, her soft lips pressed against his and the corners of his lips curled up. Almost instantly, his mind was in a mess. Countless memories surged out, and he could not help but deepen the kiss at the last moment. The moment his consciousness fell into darkness, he heard a woman's voice. Who are you? But that's not important. You've successfully attracted my attention. You'll appear in the next world, right? I'm looking forward to what method you'll use to attract my attention. I suddenly feel that reincarnation is very interesting. You don't seem to have any memories. Most of the time, you can't help but court death. Fortunately, I'm a benevolent and vengeful person. I'll take revenge on whoever offends me. I won't leave them for the next world. He smiled helplessly in his heart. He could not say who he was, nor did he dare to say it. He had made a fatal mistake. He did not know if he would be beaten to death the day she regained her memories. He was not afraid of death. He was only afraid that she would turn around and leave without looking at him. Guagua was very vengeful. Dear host, what did you discover? The system asked weakly. Tangwa gently caressed the man's face and chuckled. A familiar soul fluctuation. Every time he dies, there will be a very familiar soul fluctuation. I guess he should have memories at that time. Did the host mean that he, Cheng, was the same person as those people from before? Based on my observations, it should be so. As long as the other party dies first, I should be able to sense a familiar soul fluctuation. Tangwa raised her eyebrows. Of course, I'm not curious about the other party's identity. As long as he's cute in every world, it's enough to attract me. The system shook its head. This host with no integrity didn't directly say, Man, you've already attracted my attention. You have to be careful from now on. Dear host, aren't you afraid of a conspiracy? Conspiracy? How can conspiracies be more important than having fun? This person is quite cute. He, who has no memories in every world, gives me pure love. I like him very much. As for conspiracies, we'll talk about them when I expose them. System. He understood. What you meant was that no matter what kind of conspiracy you had, he should first fall in love, enjoy, and let himself feel good before anything else. TSK, what a dog of a host. Chapter 422. Within a day, the news that the zombie queen had sacrificed herself for Prince Cheng spread across the entire planet. Countless people were stunned when they heard the news. They couldn't believe it. The zombie queen had sacrificed herself for love. She hadn't asked anyone to prepare for it. She was too willful. No, she was a willful person to begin with. She was so powerful and had lived for at least 1,000 years. What kind of love could make her give up her life? When Yinny heard this news, his entire person collapsed. Had she sacrificed herself for Cheng? His eyes were red and he covered his face in pain. If he hadn't asked for it, he would have been the one who had received such pure love. Monarch, people from the Sunset Empire are here. Invite them in. Yin-Yi wiped the tears off his face and saw the people from the Sunset Empire. It was none other than Qinjiaran. She handed a bottle of medicine to Yin-Yi and said coldly, His Majesty asked me to give this to you before he left. He wants you to take it. Yin Yi took the medicine bottle. He didn't ask what it was. Even if it was poison, he could eat it now. I've given it to you. I'm leaving. Qin Jiaran turned to leave. Yin Yi hurriedly shouted, Did she have any message for me? No. How could Her Majesty leave a message for an unimportant person? The prince was so annoying. He actually made Her Majesty abandon them. Yin Yi watched Qin Jiaran leave in disappointment. He clenched the medicine bottle and put it away. He quickly arranged all the matters in the Sunshine Empire. At night, he swallowed the light yellow pill in the bottle. He thought it was poison. He didn't expect the pill to be even more poisonous. It was a dream that he seemed to have experienced with his own eyes. There was him, Tanghua, and Yin Yin in the dream. But the Tanghua in the dream was different from the one he had experienced. She had been sliced up by the people of the Sunset Empire, but her strong recovery ability had allowed her to survive. Later, she had been released by Shi Cheng. She had been living among the zombies and hadn't created a zombie empire. When he was in danger, she was the one who saved him again. Many years later, the Sunshine Base had developed a drug to kill zombies. They had surrounded the last zombie mountain. He was the one who shot her in the head, and she faced him with a relieved smile, as if she didn't want to live anymore. He would never know that she was innocent. In the end, Shi Cheng tried to stop him, but he still tried to kill her. Ironically, he had been in love with Yin Yin for a lifetime. What a joke. A golden millet dream. A dream of the past and present. When Yin Yi woke up, his face was already covered in tears. He looked at the rising sun, but he didn't feel the slightest bit of warmth. He only felt cold all over. The system was speechless as it sensed its host's joyful mood. It had never seen its host lying in a heavenly spring and humming a tune. It was really seeing a ghost, but seeing his energy value rising, he couldn't help but hum along. It was quite happy. The host was happy, so it leveled up. Nyang Nyang, is the temperature of the water suitable? Tanghua shuddered when she heard a soft voice. She opened her eyes slightly and found that she was in the wooden tub. There was a layer of red rose petals floating on the surface of the water in the tub. It was really comfortable to soak in the warm water. She didn't care about her identity now. She narrowed her eyes and smiled. Not bad. She looked like a queen, and the maids behind her didn't notice anything strange. While the maids were watering her, she began to read the plot of this world and accept the memories. Chapter 423. This body's identity was the great general's daughter, the current imperial concubine of the heavenly Qin kingdom, the most respected woman in the imperial harem. The Empress Dowager had pursued the previous emperor after his death. The new emperor did not appoint an empress, so her status was naturally the highest. Everyone in the heavenly Qin kingdom knew that the imperial concubine was very favored. The emperor doted on the imperial concubine's body and promised to serve her after she reached marriageable age. When she reached the 15th, her health was still not good. The emperor said that he would wait another year, afraid that it would harm the imperial concubine's body too early. Yesterday, she had just turned 16, so the matter of serving her in bed could not be avoided. Everyone thought that the emperor loved her, doted on her, and doted on her. For her, he abandoned the entire harem and had to let her serve him in bed before he went to visit the other concubines. However, the truth was often very cruel, so cruel that it broke one's heart. Xinyuanimo was unwilling to summon the original owner to bed because he already had a white moonlight in his heart. This white moonlight was also in the palace. Now that the court was complicated, there were many women in the harem. In the beginning, he had the excuse that the imperial concubine's health was not good, so he had to wait until the imperial concubine was of age before serving her. He did not have to visit those women. Later on, when the imperial concubine grew up, he had no choice but to visit the women in the harem. However, for the sake of the white moonlight in his heart, he was unwilling to touch the other women in the harem. As for the original owner, the imperial concubine, he was unwilling to touch her. He believed that the love between him and the white moonlight should be pure and flawless. There should be no third party interfering. It sounded like a person who was infatuated. However, he was also a cruel person. Today, The imperial concubine still wanted to serve him in bed, but the person who came was not him, but his twin brother, Xianyuanmie. Unless one was a trusted aide of the royal family, no one knew that Xianyuanmo had an elder brother named Xianyuanmie. The late emperor and empress were unwilling to give up any of their children, so they left Xianyuanmo as the heir on the surface. Xianyuanmie was conferred the title of Hidden Emperor by the late emperor and protected the heavenly Qin kingdom in the dark. Both sides restrained each other and could not use any means to obtain the power in their hands. In other words, Xianyuanmie could not usurp the throne, and Xianyuanmo could not kill Xianyuanmie. Although the two of them had their own thoughts, their relationship was not bad. At least in the entire royal family, they were the closest. For the sake of his white moonlight, and also for her and her family to grow as soon as possible, Xianyuanmo could only set up a target in the harem. This target was the original owner, the current Tanghua. He asked Xianyuanmie to help him with this. From now on, he would go to the imperial concubine on his behalf every night. During the day, he would hold the imperial concubine high and mighty and only pamper her, making everyone think that the imperial concubine was the most favored woman in the imperial harem. In fact, he secretly doted on his white moonlight and Ningxiang more. When Xianyuanmo was young, he was playful. Once, he left the palace and avoided the palace servants to play in the water. He accidentally fell into the river and was saved by a little girl. In his confusion, he only saw the delicate sachet on the little girl's waist. Later, he heard that the little girl had fallen into the river again, and he didn't know if she was dead or alive. He grieved for a long time because of this. One day, when he was strolling around the harem, he suddenly found a beautiful woman with an embroidered sachet that was similar to the one he had seen before. He began to pay attention to this beauty and ordered people to investigate in Ningxiang. He learned that on the day he fell into the river, and Ningxiang had indeed sneaked out to play. When she came back, she was drenched in water. He ordered people to secretly find that familiar sachet in Ningxiang's former boudoir. Chapter 424. He firmly believed that Ningxiang was the one who saved him. The family was too weak, and Ningxiang was just a small beauty. If he doted on her too much, she would definitely be targeted by everyone. So before Ningxiang and the family grew up, he needed the previous host as a target. Moreover, this target couldn't fall before her value was squeezed dry. Right now, he was using schemes to favor the noble consort and block all the arrows for Ningxiang. In the future, when the noble consort fell from power, there would be countless people pushing her down. No one would sympathize with her and would only think that she deserved it. The pitiful previous host didn't know anything. Just because she fell in love with an emperor, he treated her so cruelly. Tanghua put on a light inner robe and a slightly thicker cloak. She lazily leaned against the soft couch and carefully savored the meaning of this. Nyang Nyang, the medicine for soaking your feet is here. The palace maid Mei Lan placed a wooden basin in front of Tanghua and worriedly said, "It's the rainy season. I'm afraid that Nyang Nyang's knees will hurt badly." As she spoke, she began to cry. She had been by Nyang Nyang's side since she was young. Nyang Nyang's body was very good when she was young. She even practiced martial arts with the general. When Nyang Nyang was 9 years old, an adult man might not be able to beat her. Since that accident, Nyang Nyang's body had always been very weak. The doctor said that it was because she fell into the water in the winter. The cold air entered her body and damaged her roots, so she had to recuperate. If she didn't recuperate well, not only would her knees hurt, her joints would also hurt, and her head would hurt. Nyang Nyang was only 16, and her body was already like this. How could she not be worried? Why are you shedding tears as you speak? Nyang Nyang, this servant is just worried about you. Mei Lan quickly wiped her tears. The emperor will be here soon. It's a good thing that the emperor loves Nyang Nyang and cares about Nyang Nyang's body. Tanghua lowered her eyes and sneered. Mei Lan felt it was strange, but she didn't dare ask her master's thoughts. After Tanghua finished soaking her feet, she took the basin out. Tanghua rubbed her knees and frowned. It's a bit uncomfortable. When it rains, I'm afraid it will hurt a lot. Great host, you're worth having a pain-blocking pill. Pain-blocking pill? That's right. Didn't I swallow a bad system last time? There were pain-blocking pills in his system store. The pain was on his host's body, but he was also worried about it. Tangwa smiled. I don't need it. Sigh, Dada, why are you so dedicated to acting? Life is like a play, and life is like a play. Only when you are invested in something can you be immersed in it and feel the various emotions involved. Physical pain is nothing. Today, I only have pain in my knees. Some people will have pain everywhere tomorrow. All right, I forgot that Madam Host is someone who is destined for great things. Let him first light a candle for Xinyuanmo and silently pray for his pain everywhere. Under the dim light, there was a beauty lying on a soft couch, flipping through a book. This was the scene that Xinyuan saw when he walked in. He sneered at Xinyuanmo's actions in his heart. Fortunately, he didn't have the slightest interest in the throne. Otherwise, his stupid younger brother might have been killed by him. He came here because he promised Xinyuanmo, but he didn't really plan to do anything with this imperial concubine. He had a lot of capable people under him, so he could use a little trick to bewitch the imperial concubine. But when he walked in and stared at the beauty who was seriously reading, a fire actually rose in his heart. He put away the pill that was originally in his hand. Chapter 425. His Majesty is here? Tangwa did not stand up to greet him. This was allowed by Xinyuanmo. Especially when there were only the two of them, Xinyuanmo was very indulgent towards her. Regarding this, Tangwa was very happy. From today onwards, she would let Xinyuanmo understand that there was a price to pay for pampering her. Xinyuan also knew this. He walked in front of the beauty and carefully looked at her beautiful face. Especially when she looked up and smiled, his heart, which was originally like stagnant water, actually started thumping. He clenched his fists, but his expression did not show. He revealed the same indulgent smile as Xinyuanmo and went up to put his arm around the beauty's shoulder. I've made Gui Fei wait for a long time. His Majesty is busy with government affairs. No matter how long this concubine has to wait, this concubine is still willing. The way the beauty spoke softly was completely different from her arrogant and despotic appearance during the day. The two blushes on her cheeks made Xinyuan's throat move. The hand holding her shoulder tightened. Gui Fei was a stunning beauty. He really did not understand why that stupid younger brother of his would like cauliflower and not such a delicate rose. Tangwa smiled as she looked at Xinyuan's starry eyes. She communicated with the system telepathically. It's him. What? Dear host, how did you recognize him? The system was shocked. It did not find anything wrong with Xinyuan. It had already tested his soul waves, and there was nothing strange at all. Intuition. Somewhat interesting. Very good. You've successfully attracted this consort again. The system swallowed. Dear host, do you need me to shield you? I won't disturb you anymore. No need. How boring would it be to sleep with him as soon as we meet? I need to cultivate a relationship with him. When he falls in love with me, we'll talk about sleeping together. For some reason, it felt that Xinyuan was so pitiful. The moment he appeared, he was targeted by the perverted host, the type that would not even let him eat if he was not sincere. Well, the host's heart was especially hard. Even if this person was really the one from the previous worlds, she would not be soft-hearted and treat him differently. The host was right. She was very clear about each world. Every world was a reshuffle. If she had a grudge, she would definitely not leave it in the next world. If your Majesty is tired, please rest. As Xinyuan listened to the woman's soft words, he felt an indescribable feeling in his heart. This woman gave him a very strange feeling. Before coming here, he didn't feel anything at all. Now, he actually couldn't bear to treat her like that. He was a little hesitant. His intuition told him that it was best not to do anything excessive to her. Otherwise, he would regret it for life. This terrifying intuition made him feel ridiculous. However, whenever he wanted to use the pill, his body would become very stiff. Love at first sight? Xinyuan had to admit that his intuition had the upper hand. He couldn't follow Xinyuan's plan to deal with this woman. Instead, at this moment, he really wanted to hug her onto the bed and do something real. Of course, he was rational and would not do such a thing because of this. The woman in front of him was not his woman, but the imperial concubine of the heavenly Qin kingdom. If he really fell in love with her at first sight, he would need to make another plan. He narrowed his eyes and picked her up. She was so light. He already knew that she was very thin, but he didn't expect her to be so light. She was weightless in his arms. Chapter 426. Is Imperial Consort's health still not very good? Xinyuan Mie held the woman in his arms and did not do anything excessive. Just holding her like this made him feel satisfied. What kind of charm did this woman have that even he was mesmerized? I've never been well. When I was young, I was playful and fell into the water. The cold air entered my body and my knees hurt when it rained. Father spent a lot of money to find tonics for me, but it was useless. The doctor said that I could only take care of it. As they spoke, a gust of wind blew in from outside. Before the two of them could react, raindrops began to fall. Xinyuan Mie was stunned. He looked at the woman in his arms and saw that she was in pain. Her body was still trembling slightly in his arms, and his heart could not help but ache. "Your knees hurt?" Xinyuan Mie asked. Tangwa nodded. When she looked up, there were still some tears in her eyes. His heart tightened. "Does it hurt a lot?" And she bit her lip. After a while, she said, "I felt that my knees were uncomfortable earlier. So it's because it's going to rain. It'll be fine in a few days." "Your Majesty, I'm afraid I won't be able to serve you tonight." She looked guilty. "I always let your Majesty accommodate this concubine. This concubine feels guilty." Looking at the woman's pale face and how she still wanted to apologize, Xinyuan Mie could no longer ignore the strange feeling in his heart. Love at first sight, this should be it. The funny thing was that this woman really thought that Xinyuan Mo was good to her. She really was a naive and foolish woman. If it wasn't for him, Xinyuan Mie, who came today, she would have been eaten up long ago. Thinking of this, Xinyuan Mie felt uncomfortable. He couldn't help but hug the woman tighter. Since she had fallen in love, she was his. Xinyuan Mo couldn't touch her even if he wanted to. "I'll help you rub it." Xinyuan Mie released her and put on a coat for her. Only then did he let her sit up and lay her legs flat. He sat by the bed and gently rubbed her knees. He even used some inner energy. Warm energy flowed into her knees and her complexion improved. She was surprised. "It doesn't hurt anymore." Xinyuan Mie's lips curved, revealing a smile that was different from Xinyuan Mo's. It was a bit evil. "It's good that it doesn't hurt. I'll rub it more for you in the future." "Your Majesty, you are so good to this concubine." Tangwa lay in the man's arms, the corners of her mouth curled up. She successfully saw the smile on the man's lips freeze, and she felt extremely comfortable. "Since I was young, the one who treated me the best was father, and now there's one more person." Xinyuan Mie was unhappy. The one who treated her well was him, Xinyuan Mie, not Xinyuan Mo, that idiot of a younger brother. This was a silly and naive woman. Xinyuan Mie labeled Tangwa in his heart. Looking at the blissful smile on her beautiful face, he quickly threw away the uncomfortable feeling. As long as she was happy, it was fine. "It's getting late. Let's sleep." When the woman was a little confused, he pulled her into his arms and pulled the blanket over them. He wrapped his arms around her and closed his eyes in satisfaction. With a warm and soft body in his arms, it did feel a little different. Hearing the woman's steady breathing, he opened his eyes and carefully looked at this beautiful little face. The corners of her mouth were still slightly raised. She must be having a good dream. Thinking that Xinyuan Mo must be in her dream, his expression didn't look very good. He bit her red lips as a punishment and sucked lightly. He instantly felt intoxicated and quickly let go. As if he was a little unwilling, he gently touched her lips this time and carefully tasted it. He hugged her tightly. He had an urge to want more, but he restrained himself. Seeing her slightly swollen lips, a trace of awkwardness flashed across Xinyuan Mie's face. Then, he felt that it should be like this. Anyway, she was his. Chapter 427. Early in the morning, Tangwa touched her slightly painful lips and was slightly speechless. Meilon snickered at the side and glanced at Tangwa's lips. She carefully avoided the areas with wounds and added makeup for her. Last night was the day of the imperial concubine's bedtime. Today, the women of the imperial harem would come here to greet her and feel happy that they could serve her. They didn't know that they had cursed Tangwa thousands of times in their hearts, but they still had to respectfully greet her. Xinyuanimo had many concubines, more than 20 in total. Other than her, the imperial concubine, there was no one below the rank of imperial concubine. There were only two secondary second-rank concubines, Meng Shuyi and In Xiui. One secondary third-rank concubine, Lan Jieyu. As for Xinyuan Mo's White Moonlight, she was currently a secondary sixth-rank concubine, Beauty Yin. And Ningxiang stood at the very end and was not eye-catching at all. Her appearance could only be considered delicate and pretty. Her clothes were not eye-catching, the colors were dull, there were few accessories on her head, and her makeup was also light. Even those of the same rank as her didn't take her seriously. But if one looked carefully, they would find that the material of her inconspicuous clothes was carefully selected, and the embroidery on it was also very different. At first glance, people didn't care, but after a few more glances, it was very attractive. Especially in Ningxiang's gentle temperament, it was enough to attract men's attention. This concubine greets the imperial concubine. All the concubines paid their respects. Tangwa sat steadily at the top and glanced at them indifferently. She didn't give them a show of strength or anything, only saying, "Rise." Those who could sit sat in their own seats and congratulated the imperial concubine, one after another. Tangwa didn't care about these people, and her peripheral vision kept on looking at Ningxiang's face. Ningxiang looked indifferent, but in fact, her hands were twisting a handkerchief. She didn't miss the sadness in her eyes. She raised her eyebrows slightly. It seemed that Xinyuanimo didn't tell Ningxiang his plan. That's right, it meant that it was related to the disgraceful side of the imperial family. Moreover, Ningxiang's performance showed that her relationship with Xinyuanimo was already good. The embroidery on Beauty Ann's clothes is quite unique. As soon as Tangwa's words fell, the more than 20 women in the room all looked at Ningxiang. These women's eyes were actually very sharp. They could tell at a glance that Ningxiang's embroidery skills weren't ordinary, and her embroidery skills were also quite exquisite. Tangwa didn't need to say anything as Ningxiang attracted everyone's attention. Ningxiang didn't expect that the imperial concubine would notice such a small person like her. Her heart was in a mess. Previously, she had indeed felt uncomfortable because Xinyuanimo had favored the imperial consort. He said that he only doted on the imperial concubine on the surface, but the one he liked was her. This was paving the way for her. If she directly promoted her grade, it would definitely cause a lot of trouble. She understood this, but she still felt uncomfortable. Could it be that imperial concubine Yang Yang has taken a fancy to the clothes of a little beauty? Lan Jieyu covered her mouth and laughed. If imperial consort Yang Yang likes it, why don't you ask Beauty and where she got the material and who did the embroidery? If imperial concubine Yang Yang wants an item, isn't it simple? On the surface, she was helping Tangwa, but in fact, Lan Jieyu was making Tangwa into a willful and domineering concubine who bullied the weak. Tangwa glanced at Lan Jieyu. The reason why Lan Jieyu was unique in the harem was that she always spoke frankly. It was because Lan Jieyu was originally Xinyuan Mo's confidant, a confidant who existed specifically for Ningxiang. Once someone made things difficult for Ningxiang, Lan Jieyu had to go up and attract attention. It had to be said that Xinyuanimo had indeed considered a lot for Ningxiang. Tangwa, who was sitting gracefully on the throne, suddenly smiled. Chapter 428. Lan Jieyu also thinks that the embroidery is unique? Of course. Tangwa smiled. You also like it? Lan Jieyu didn't doubt her and straightforwardly said, of course this concubine likes it. I believe that all the Jiejie and Mimi present, there isn't a single person who doesn't like it. Oh. Tangwa swept her eyes over all the imperial concubines present and asked, do all the Mimi also like it? All the imperial concubines looked at each other and replied in unison, of course we like it. I didn't expect that all of you would like it just because this concubine mentioned that it was beautiful. Tangwa had a light smile on her face. It was truly a smile that could charm hundreds of people. Actually, this concubine only thinks that it's unique and doesn't really want it. This concubine has too many things. This little embroidery just made this concubine a little curious. As she spoke, She pointed around to let the imperial concubines see the decorations in her room. She then waved the handkerchief in her hand. The embroidery on my handkerchief isn't any worse than that. All the imperial concubines were speechless. This Gui Feinyang was truly becoming more and more undisciplined. Was she showing off how many treasures she had in front of them? However, it really was infuriating. Since Mimi likes it, I can't say anything, especially Lan Jieyu. Tangwa's gaze landed on Lan Jieyu as she said softly, since Lan Jieyu and all the Mimi like it, Lan Jieyu's suggestion just now wasn't bad. She turned her gaze to Ning Xiang. Beautyan, did you hear what Lan Jieyu said just now? What did she say? Ning Xiang was still a little confused. She didn't understand what she meant. Beautyan, this concubine is here. Ning Xiang felt that something wasn't right and a chill ran down her spine. Tangwa smiled faintly. Lan Jieyu and all the Mimi have taken a liking to your embroidery and material. They were asking where you got it from. Without waiting for Ning Xiang to speak, she yawned. This concubine's body isn't very good and needs to go back to rest. I'll just leave Beautyan here to talk to Lan Jieyu about the material and embroidery. Originally, this kind of thing shouldn't be left to Beautyan, but since Lan Jieyu has already mentioned it, this concubine can't give her face and can only wrong you. After that, regardless of Lan Jieyu's surprised look, Tangwa was supported by Mei Lan and left unsteadily. That's right. If Lan Jieyu obtains the new material and special embroidery, you must wear it for this consort to take a look. This consort is also very curious if Lan Jieyu will become more beautiful wearing this kind of embroidery. Was he saying that she wasn't beautiful? Ugly? Lan Jieyu's face turned sour. This imperial concubine was really arrogant. Not long after, Xinyuan Mo's reward arrived. There were all kinds of precious items and precious materials. Tangwa didn't hold back at all as she looked at the items. Make beautiful clothes out of these materials for Ben Gong. Ben Gong wants to wear a new set of clothes every day from now on. It's the same for jewelry. I also want to wear something different every day. She glanced at the decorations in the room. These decorations as well. Change them for me every day. Mei Lan. Nyang Nyang, this isn't good, is it? His Majesty dotes on this consort so much. How can this consort fail to live up to his good intentions? Tangwa sat on the dressing table with a smile. The items that His Majesty bestows can only be used and placed in front of one's eyes. Only then can it be considered important. I believe that he will be very gratified when he finds out. Is that so? Eunuch, who had come to deliver the items, had just walked out when he heard Tangwa's words. He almost missed a step and fell down. Fortunately, the young eunuch beside him had quick reflexes and caught him. He took a deep breath and secretly glanced back. He shook his head. This person's favor wouldn't last long. Now that she did this, he was afraid that His Majesty would dislike her. Chapter 429. Eunuch reported Tangwa's situation to Xinyuan Mo originally. Xinyuan Mo had been very dissatisfied with Ning Xiang's contribution of fabric and embroidery. Now that Gui Fei was actually so extravagant, he was even more displeased. He had some doubts about whether Gui Fei was a good target. If she fell too quickly, it wouldn't be a good thing. But when he thought of the family Tang's momentum, he instantly calmed down. The more arrogant Gui Fei was, the easier it would be for him to find fault with the family Tang. That was also good. Gui Fei was so loathsome, so he wouldn't feel any guilt for doing those things. Moreover, he couldn't feel any pity for a woman who had been touched by another man. Pick a few more things and send them to Gui Fei. Yes, Your Majesty. Xinyuan Mo paused, then continued. Tell Gui Fei that Zhan will be there in a moment. Tangwa happily received the items. When she heard that Xinyuan Mo was coming, she revealed an especially happy smile and sent Eunuch off in a good mood. Nyang Nyang, aren't we being a bit too arrogant like this? Mei Lan was a bit worried. Although His Majesty doted on Nyang Nyang a lot, Nyang Nyang's spoiled eldest sister temperament was finally exposed. Who knew how many people she would offend in the inner palace? Tangwa smiled as she tried on all kinds of jewelry, not worried at all. She casually said, Is this consort very arrogant? But these things were all given by His Majesty. Do I need to put them away and not show them off every day? Xinyuan Mo was standing at the door. When he heard this, He also froze and didn't directly enter. His Majesty dotes on this consort in such a high-profile manner, which means that he's not afraid. He has enough confidence to protect this consort. Does this consort still need to be timid and careful? His Majesty dotes on this consort so much. This consort definitely can't disappoint his good intentions. In the past, at home, Daddy also doted on this consort like this. He hated that he couldn't find all the good things for this consort. If this consort put them away, Daddy would get angry. Tangwa smiled sweetly. Now that His Majesty is also like this consort definitely can't hide these things. Instead, this consort has to show them and let him understand that this consort likes the things he gives a lot. Nyang Nyang, this is the palace. Isn't the palace His Majesty's place? Meilon. He will protect me. This time, she didn't call herself that, and her voice wasn't loud, but Xinyuan Imo, who was standing at the door, heard it clearly. He didn't know why, but he had an uncomfortable feeling in his heart. When I first entered the palace, Father warned me to be careful with every step in the palace, but His Majesty said that there was no need. I was already an imperial concubine, only under one person. I only needed to listen to him. Why should I care about other people's opinions? It was His Majesty who wanted me to live based on my true feelings. He said it. With him around, no one will bully me. Even if someone bullies me, he will protect me. That's right. When the original owner heard this, she thought that Xinyuan Imo liked her. She didn't hide her true feelings and finally fell into eternal damnation. Hearing this, Xinyuan Imo, who was standing outside the door, was also stunned. Soon, he remembered the purpose of his visit. He coughed lightly and walked in. What is Imperial Concubine saying? Pleasant surprise flashed across Tangwa's face. She put down the little toy in her hand and didn't put on the airs of an Imperial Concubine at all. She skipped in front of him and threw herself into his arms, even rubbing against his body. Such intimate contact made Xinyuan Imo stiffen. He pushed her away without leaving a trace. Imperial Concubine, it's daytime right now. Chapter 430. Imo, there's no one. She gave Meilon a look and said quietly, Uniquely said that Imo was coming, so I let them all go out. No one will see. I've asked someone to make your favorite lotus seed soup for you. Tangwa brought the lotus seed soup to Xinyuan Imo. Imo came at the right time. It's been cooling here for a while. Xinyuan Imo held the lotus seed soup, and there was an indescribable complexity in his heart. Looking at the woman in front of him with a bright smile and an expectant look, he moved the spoon and ate it in one bite. Surprisingly, it tasted very good. Is it good? She asked expectantly. It's good. Her eyes curved into crescents. That's great. If Imo wants to eat anything in the future, come to my place. I'll prepare it for you. Xinyuan Imo originally didn't have much of an appetite. Lotus seed soup was originally a sweet food and shouldn't be appetizing. But the taste of this lotus seed soup really couldn't be compared to the imperial chef's. Unknowingly, he finished it. Looking at the empty bowl, he was a little stunned. Tangwa reached out and wiped the corners of his mouth with a handkerchief. It's good, right? I knew that Imo would definitely like it. Her eyes were twinkling like the brightest galaxy. Xinyuan Imo couldn't find any impurities in this pair of bright eyes. This kind of recognition made him feel a little uncomfortable, and he didn't want to stay here any longer. The chef here is really good. Jin wants to snatch it away. Tangwa smiled brightly. Everything in this palace belongs to Imo, but I won't give this chef to you. In the future, Imo can come here every day to eat. It had to be said that this time, Xinyuan Imo really found a reason to come to the Imperial Concubine's palace. The food here was really good. At night, the Emperor still turned over the Imperial Concubine's plate. The person who came was of course still Xinyuan Mia. Xinyuan Mia hugged the woman's waist and felt a little satisfied. Thinking of the news he received during the day, he didn't feel too good. Imperial Concubine, Zhen wants to eat lotus seed soup. Xinyuan Mia's face was stiff. Why only prepared lotus seed soup for that stupid younger brother? He had been craving it all day and thought that there would be something to eat. In the end, there was only a cup of hot tea. Tangwa froze for a moment. Your Majesty, Didn't you say that it's not appropriate to eat at night? My habits have changed. In the future, prepare more food. I especially like to eat at night. Looking at the little woman in his arms nodding in a daze, the corners of his mouth curled up. He caressed her cheek and kissed the corner of her mouth. My noble consort is so beautiful. Seeing the blush on her cheeks, he felt a little hot in his heart. He really wanted to get down to business immediately. Your Majesty, let go of this concubine. Not letting go. Tangwa pushed his hand away. If your Majesty doesn't let go, there won't be any more lotus seed soup to eat. After she finished speaking, she raised her head in embarrassment. Xinyuan Mia was stunned for a moment. He carefully pondered over the words before asking. The lotus seed soup in the afternoon was personally made by the imperial consort? He didn't know how it tasted, but from what he heard, that stupid younger brother of his seemed to think that it was delicious. After getting Tangwa's affirmation, he was a little angry in his heart. This was his woman. What right did that stupid Xinyuanimo have to eat the lotus seed soup that she personally made? Your Majesty, do you still want to eat lotus seed soup? Xinyuan Mia let go of her waist and was a little peeved. Yes? Then wait here first. This concubine will be back soon. No, Zhen wants to go with you. A gentleman should stay away from the kitchen. Zhen is the son of heaven. The son of heaven is the most important. Zhen has the final say in everything. Xinyuan Mia held the woman's hand and pulled her to the small kitchen. He even closed the kitchen door while Mei Lan stood guard outside, trembling with fear. She was drenched in cold sweat inside. As expected, ruler's heart was hard to fathom. Accompanying a ruler was like accompanying a tiger. His Majesty changed every day. Chapter 431. After eating the lotus seed soup that he had been longing for, Xinyuan Mia was not in a good mood. Why should Xinyuan Imo eat such a delicacy? He pondered with a dark face on how to kidnap Gue Fei. This stupid woman already liked Xinyuan Imo a lot. If he said that Xinyuan Imo was pretending to be nice to her, she would definitely not believe him. She might even think that he was the one with ulterior motives because of this. Xinyuan Imo was wary of the family Tang. With his stupid brother's personality, he would destroy the family Tang sooner or later. As for how to destroy it, there were many tricks that could be played here. Xinyuan Mia narrowed his eyes. Only by letting this stupid woman know that Xinyuan Imo was a wolf, and that he was using her well would she believe him in the end. At this time, it would be much easier to take her away. But this method might make her very sad. He really couldn't bear to see such a weak and frail little girl in such a heartbroken state. Tangwa propped up her chin and smiled as she watched Xinyuan Mia in deep thought. She communicated with the system. Guess what he's thinking? He did not look well. Was he jealous? He had already seen his host's charm. Moreover, Xinyuan Mia was an old acquaintance. He would definitely not be able to escape his host's grasp, but he did not expect that he would fall for her the moment they met. His combat ability was simply trash. He's thinking of how to kidnap me. What? So direct? The system did not understand. Actually, it's not that troublesome. I'm quite willing to go with him. He's more interesting. Of course, revenge is also very important. Very good. Even when the host was in love, she would not forget about revenge. This vengeful personality was unparalleled. Tangwa noticed that the originally gloomy Xinyuan Mia's brows relaxed as if he had understood something. His lips curled into a sly smile. When he sensed her gaze, his smile instantly became doting. He pointed to the corner of his mouth. Gue Fei, help me wipe the corner of my mouth. Tangwa obediently helped him wipe his mouth. Just as she was about to withdraw her hand after wiping it, he grabbed her wrist. He held her soft hand and squeezed it. Only then did Xinyuan Mia put his arm around her waist. From now on, Zhen will eat the food prepared by Gue Fei every night. Zhen is not picky as long as it's prepared by Gue Fei. It's getting late. Time to rest. Xinyuan Mia did want to do something, but with his pride as a man, he was unwilling to wear Xinyuan Mo's mask and do those things with the woman he liked. Therefore, he could only endure it. This made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Every time the woman beside him fell asleep, he would fiercely bite her red lips and hug her delicate body, as if he wanted to rub her into his bones and blood. never to be separated again. Late at night, Xin Yuanmie's eyes were red as he smelled the sweet scent beside him. He couldn't live like this anymore. He turned over and pressed the woman under his body. He wantonly plundered her. When his lips were swollen, he kissed her neck. When her fair neck was red, he stopped. Rubbing his eyebrows, he looked at the woman who looked like a bully and smiled bitterly. When did he become such a beast? In the end, he hurriedly tidied up the woman's clothes, wrapped her in his arms, and closed his eyes to sleep. Bear with the godly turtle. Tangwa sighed. TSK, this seat is so beautiful, but he can still bear with it. Just a kiss and that's it. Great host. Not only did he kiss, he almost stripped her naked, kissed, and pinched her. You peeked? I was careless. I didn't expect him to suddenly wake up at night. But I have to say, great host, he will be suffocated like this. No, I believe him. With a smile, Tangwa also fell asleep. Chapter 432. Xinyuan had someone inform Tangwa early in the morning that he would come over for lunch. What he meant was for Tangwa to tell the chef to prepare the food. The lotus seed soup from yesterday made him reminisce a little. When he arrived, the aroma of the food wafted out. It was even better than what the imperial chefs made. When everyone else left, Tangwa scooped soup for Xinyuan and smiled. Imo, I don't know what you like to eat, so I asked the chef to prepare some. Xinyuan drank a mouthful of soup and ate a few mouthfuls of food. He didn't even have time to look at Tangwa. When he was half full, he wanted to praise Tangwa. When he looked at her, he saw the red circles on her neck. His heart sank. He put down the bowl and clenched his fists. When he asked his imperial brother to do that, he should have understood that he wouldn't have anything to do with this woman anymore. But when he saw the red circles, he still felt very uncomfortable. He felt that it was very glaring. Tangwa seemed to notice the other party's gaze. She couldn't help but tug at her collar. She blushed and said to Xinyuan Imo, why are you always sneaking around in the middle of the night? That shy look made Xinyuan very angry. It wasn't him. It really wasn't him. However, he was the one who willingly put on this green hat. It's all my fault. That's why Imo is so upset. Imo, there are still many sisters in the palace. Tangwa suddenly teared up. Although I don't want you to go at all, I can't serve you. As the emperor, you can't only have me, so. The more she spoke, the softer her voice became, and the more tears fell. She was clearly unwilling, but she had to say it. Xinyuan was angry, but he had to comfort her. He patted Tangwa's shoulder. Jin won't go to other palaces. I'll come to Gue Fei's place every night. Things had already come to this. From the day he spoke to his imperial brother, there was no way to salvage the situation. She had already been touched by his imperial brother. There was no possibility between them. He could only take this step to the end. Moreover, the person he liked was a Ningxiang. In order to let a Ningxiang grow up and sit firmly on the throne of the empress in the future, she could only sacrifice her. Her father's surname was Tang, and the power of the Tang family had developed to the point that he was afraid of them. Amo, is what you said true? The woman threw herself into Xinyuan arms with teary eyes and looked at him. You won't go to other palaces in the future? I'm not going. He didn't intend to go in the first place, which was why this happened. Then I'm afraid the other sisters will be unhappy. You are the imperial consort. You have the final say. What can they do to you? Xinyuan looked at the glaring red mark and hardened his heart. It would be good to let her deal with those scheming women. Only then would his Ningxiang be able to grow to be on par with him. Amo, you're so nice. Other than father, you're the best person in the world to me. Seeing how touched the woman was, Xinyuan pursed his lips. His eyes were always on the marks on her neck. He clenched and unclenched his fists, then clenched and unclenched them. In the end, he pushed her away with the excuse that he was busy with work and left with heavy steps. I'm just asking Xinyuan if the green hat looks good. After Xinyuan left, Tangwa stopped crying and complained to the system. It was so fast that Mei Lan was also shocked. Recently, she had always felt that there was something wrong with her imperial consort. For example, there was something very wrong with her in front of her. She chose not to make a sound and slowly observed. Seeing her imperial consort happily drinking tea and reading a book, the strange feeling in her heart grew stronger and stronger. Imperial consort was split? Chapter 433. Xinyuan Imo stayed in the imperial concubine's palace every night. 1 day, 3 days, or even 10 days, the concubines could still accept it. However, it had already been a month, and the emperor had no intention of going to the other palaces to pamper the other concubines. This made many people unable to restrain themselves. Xinyuan Imo seemed to be unaware, and continued to go to the imperial concubine's palace every day. Of course, only Tangwa knew that the one who came to her palace every night was called Xinyuan Mie. At night, he became more and more excessive. As soon as she fell asleep, he would press her down and kiss her all over. In this world, the two people she admired the most were the Xinyuan brothers. Both of them were especially good at enduring. One of them endured for a month in front of a living woman. Even if he kissed her all over, he wouldn't do the last step. The other one watched helplessly as his imperial concubine and his elder brother made love every night. He was actually able to wear such a big green hat safely and even had to grit his teeth and reward her with all kinds of precious things during the day. She couldn't help but admire him. Mei Lan had already recovered from her shock and calmed down. She looked at Tangua with more and more respect. She had underestimated her imperial concubine. In this palace, other than her imperial concubine, no one else could fight. It's about time. Mei Lan, this girl is very perceptive. Tangwa played with a jade rui and casually threw it to the side. She then changed a pair of beautiful bracelets for herself. Mei Lan even gave her a very considerate suggestion. Go call Ming Shuyi, In Xiui, He Fangyi, and Yushuani over. Mei Lan didn't understand what was going on, but she still obediently went to invite her masters over. The 4 people who were invited also didn't quite understand what this arrogant imperial concubine wanted to do. They had a lot of bitterness in their hearts, but what could they do? Greetings to the imperial concubine. Tangwa raised her hand. Rise. No need to be so polite today. This concubine is bored out of her mind and wants to play with you. Play with them? Are you sure she's not here to play with them? Mei Lan, take out the things and distribute them to the younger sisters. What things? Of course, they were given by Xinyuan Imo. She smiled. The storeroom is almost full. Younger sisters, this concubine likes them, so I'll give them to you. The 4 imperial concubines. There's something I don't know if I should say. Imperial concubine, you're going overboard. Tangwa asked someone to make a square table and led the 4 people to their seats. She asked Mei Lan to take out her toys and looked at them. It must be very boring in the palace, right? The 4 of them looked at each other with a bitter smile. How could they not be bored? Their only joy was fighting for favor. In the end, this person was good. He monopolized everything by himself, not giving them any chance at all. No matter what they did, the emperor would always be biased towards her. No matter if she was right or wrong, she was always right. No matter if they were right or wrong, they were always wrong. Under such circumstances, what could they do? She was also the daughter of a great general. With such a powerful father, their family couldn't do anything about it. This consort recently obtained a good toy. I'll share it with you guys. The 4 of them looked at the small square piece on the table and became interested. Imperial concubine. What is this? Mahjong. Tangwa spat out 2 words. Come, this consort will teach you. This is a game for the 4 of you. It'll be very fun once you learn it. The things I gave you just now will be your base. Listen carefully. In the future, if you're bored, the 4 of you can gather together at a table. If the other younger sisters are interested, you can also teach them. Chapter 434. However, Tangwa smiled at them. There are 2 people that you're not allowed to teach. You also have to warn the others not to teach these 2 people. In other words, in the future, when these 2 people are around, you must not play. The 4 people's hearts trembled. No wonder Imperial Consort Nyang called them to play games. So she had a plan. May I ask Imperial Consort Nyang, who are these 2 people? Meng Shi couldn't help but ask. Tangwa smiled. Lan Jieyu, Beauty and the 4 people were shocked. These two people, one was straightforward and the other was low-key. When did they offend Imperial Consort Nyangnya? In one afternoon, the four people went from curious to addicted. They were completely attracted by the game of mahjong. Hifangyi exclaimed. Then she said dejectedly, I made a mistake. Can I go back on my word, Imperial Consort Nyangnya? Tangwa shook her head. You can't. Yushuani covered her mouth and laughed. Sister He, you're a bit shameless. You can't go back on your moves when playing chess. Imperial Consort Nyangnya is right. Mahjong shows one's character. No, Hifangyi hurriedly shook her head. Looking pitiful, I lost everything. Meng Shui looked at the treasures in the basket next to her and was in a wonderful mood. Thank you for letting me win, sisters. Inshui couldn't hold back. Sister He, it's good that you lost everything. It's my turn. She stared at the table in a daze. This game of mahjong was really fun. They all admired Imperial Consort Nyangnya. She didn't lose or win. This wasn't something that anyone could do. At the same time, they understood that it wasn't that Imperial Consort Nyangnya couldn't win. She just didn't want to win against them. For the entire afternoon, only Hifangyi lost. Fortunately, before she left, Tangwa rewarded her with many things to comfort her little heart. For several days, Tangwa invited them to play mahjong during the day. During mealtime, Xinyuan and Mo would come. At night, Xinyuan Mie would come. While she was asleep, he would always do something out of line. She was really very busy, but she played very happily. For half a month, she took out many small toys to share with the four people. After they played, they would give them to their close concubines. None of them were fools. They were especially careful when they played this game. In front of others, they were still dignified concubines. Only when they were at the table would they show a bit of regret. What would happen if the imperial concubines became addicted to mahjong and no longer had the heart to fight for favor? On this day, the four of them secretly came to Tangwa's place. Recently, they had been particularly interested in the secret manuals that imperial concubine Shuei had taken out. As she flipped through the pages, she heard Tangwa say, "Do you want to be promoted?" The few of them raised their heads at the same time. They were a little confused. What promotion? Oh, they quickly reacted. Grade? Seeing their reaction, Tangwa laughed in her heart. When the emperor comes, I'll ask him to help you mention it. Whatever. Meng Shui curled her lips. In any case, the emperor can't see us. Originally, they were still dissatisfied, but now they found that there was something more interesting than fighting for favor. The imperial concubine had so many treasures in her hands. It was much more interesting than the emperor. If the imperial consort was a man, they might consider fighting for her favor. In fact, they weren't fools. How could they not understand that the emperor couldn't tolerate anyone else? The imperial concubine also had her methods. Although they didn't know where the things she took out came from, she definitely had the ability. Fighting with the mysterious imperial concubine. Were they courting death? It was more important to hug her thigh. Right now, they were thinking about how to take care of themselves. Oh, I just think that after being promoted, it sounds better. What? The four of them stared at Tangwa in unison, their eyes wide open. Did she think that it sounded good? So she helped them promote their ranks? Chapter 435. In less than 2 days, there was a big promotion in the harem. When Tangwa mentioned this to Xinyuan and Mo, he was especially happy. In fact, he had wanted to promote in Ningxiang for a long time, but was afraid of attracting other people's attention. Tangwa's action was very much in line with his intentions. Usually, other than in Ningxiang and Tangwa, he didn't care about news in the harem. It should be said that he didn't care about a group of women in the harem. Meng Shui became consort Meng. In Shui became consort In, rising from second rank to official second rank. Hifangyi became He Ronghua. Yushuani also became Yu Ronghua, rising from fourth rank to official fourth rank. Lan Jieyu became Lan Guipin, rising from third rank to official third rank. Xinyuan Mo's White Moonlight, Beauty In also rose from minor sixth rank to official sixth rank. Noble Lady In, it was rainy weather again. Xinyuan and Mo thought, if he didn't want to eat the delicacies in the Guifei's palace, he wouldn't have come in the rain. When he walked into the palace today, there was indeed the smell of food. but it wasn't a familiar smell. His expression wasn't good. Could it be that he spoiled her too much, so she couldn't even bear to prepare food for him? Xinyuanimo was angry, especially when he could see her exposed skin every day. There would always be that kind of eyesore mark, and his heart was flustered. He didn't plan to turn and leave. Sitting at the dining table, Eunuchly asked at the right time, Guifei Nyang might be urging the cooks in the kitchen. Xinyuanimo felt better and nodded, preparing to wait a bit. Not long after, Tang was people didn't come, but Mei Lan came out. Mei Lan's expression wasn't good. When she saw Xinyuanimo, she hurriedly knelt. This servant has neglected your majesty. Please forgive this servant. Actually, she was complaining in her heart. Guifei Nyang wasn't feeling well right now. Just now, she wanted to go to the kitchen to fight, but she was the one who pulled her back. Where's Guifei? Nyang, she. Mei Lan pursed her lips. Nyang's body isn't feeling well. Xinyuanmo's expression changed, and he said with concern, what happened? Every time it rains, Guifei Nyang's knees hurt. Mei Lan continued, I'm afraid Nyang won't be able to accompany His Majesty to eat. Where's the chef? Xinyuanimo pointed at the dishes on the table. I prefer the dishes cooked by that mysterious chef. Mei Lan bit her lip, not daring to tell the truth. She lied. The cook's family had some matters to attend to, so she returned home. She will enter the palace in a while. Xinyuanimo was a little disappointed, but he still stood up and walked inside. After entering, he saw a woman with a frown and a pale face. He couldn't help but quicken his pace. What happened to the imperial consort? Amo, Tang's tears fell. My knees hurt. She hugged Xinyuanmo's waist. It hurts a lot. Xinyuanmo wanted to get angry, but he couldn't. He didn't push her away either. Jean will call the imperial physician to take a look. He's already taken a look. It's useless. Xinyuanmo didn't believe it and still called the imperial physician. After the diagnosis, he only received one sentence. It's an old illness. It's an illness that was left behind when you were young. It can't be cured. Every time it rains, the pain will be unbearable. Guifei Nyang has to take good care of it. Does it hurt a lot? Xinyuanmo had never seen her frown like this. Why didn't he notice it before? He looked towards the imperial physician. Is there a way to reduce the pain? Your Majesty, please forgive me. There isn't. It's only after the rainy weather passes. Guifei Nyang should take good care of it. It's best not to touch cold water. She needs to soak her legs in medicine every night to reduce the pain. Chapter 436. At night, Xinyuanmie came. It was raining today, so he knew that her knees would hurt. He placed her leg on his and gently rubbed it for her. Using some internal energy, he saw her relaxed expression. Why didn't you help this concubine rub it during the day? It wouldn't hurt so much if you rubbed it earlier. Xinyuanmie laughed. He also wanted to come. If he appeared during the day, wouldn't his identity be exposed? There are many people during the day. Tangwa found it funny, but she still put on an aggrieved expression. I didn't prepare anything to eat today. Your Majesty, you don't mind, right? He pinched her cheeks and pulled her into his embrace. You're in so much pain. How can I bear to let you prepare food? Mei Lan, who was carrying the medicine in, was shocked. She stared at Xinyuanmie, afraid that he would see through her, so she quickly lowered her head. The shock in her eyes didn't lessen at all. If she hadn't held the basin steadily, she would definitely have fallen down. She carefully placed the basin to the side. She kept her head down, not daring to look up. She probably knew a huge secret. The emperor during the day and the emperor at night were not the same person. Yes, her family's Guifei Nyang had never addressed the two people the same way. Yes, the one during the day was called Amo and called himself me. As for the one at night, she only addressed him as the emperor and called herself concubine. What was the difference? Then, which emperor was the real one? Guifei Nyang must know the secret behind this. She bit her lip, not daring to make a sound. In this palace, the more you knew, the faster you would die. Don't look at how peaceful the palace was. However, Mei Lan's thoughts and her expression just now were all seen by the two people by the bed. Xin Yuanmia was thinking about whether to silence her and find someone to replace her. Mei Lan is still the most considerate. She has served this concubine since she was young. She knew that this concubine's knees hurt during rainy days, so she prepared medicine early. Tang was casual words dispelled Xin Yuanmia's thoughts of killing her. Forget it. Find someone to watch Mei Lan to prevent her from gossiping. Your Majesty, this concubine feels that you are different during the day and at night. Mei Lan hung her head and stood to the side like a wooden block. Her heart tightened. Nyang clearly knew everything, so why did she still ask? If the person in the day was the real emperor, then she didn't dare to imagine how ruthless the emperor was to treat the imperial concubine like this. Guo just take it that the emperor in the day was out of his mind. Xin Yuanmia hugged his beloved and said softly, the emperor in the day definitely didn't do anything bad. Guo you have to be clear about it. Tang Guo raised her head, her eyes a little dazed. She suddenly smiled at him. So you're saying that your Majesty is sincere towards this concubine and truly dotes on this concubine? Of course. For her, he had become a beast. How could he not be sincere? She lowered her head and snuggled into his arms. She said softly, that's good, as long as you're sincere. Xin Yuanmia looked at the woman in his arms and his heart tightened. Did she see something? Or was it just the pain that caused her to overthink? That night, Xin Yuanmia didn't cause trouble. He only slept peacefully with her in his arms. After Xin Yuanmia left, Mei Lan had everyone leave. One person stayed by Tang was side to serve her. She wanted to ask something, but as a servant, she shouldn't ask. However, she had been by Nyang's side since she was young. She had to ask. If it was really as she guessed, the people of the Xin Yuan family really let Nyang down. Nyang. Chapter 437. What's wrong? Before Mei Lan can open her mouth, her tears start to fall. She can't hold it in at all. From the mirror, she can clearly see the sadness in her Nyang's eyes. So, she didn't guess wrong? Nyang, you've been wronged. Think of a way to tell the general. Tangwa sits in front of the dressing table, the corners of her mouth curling up. So what if I tell father? How should I put it? But he's too much. So what if he's too much? He's already afraid of my family, Tang. If father finds out and makes things difficult for him, wouldn't that give him an excuse to get rid of my family, Tang? So, Nyang will have to make yourself suffer? Tangwa smiles faintly in her heart. Of course not. Doesn't Xin Yuanmia like a cuckold? She will make him wear a cuckold for the rest of his life, and he will do it willingly. The emperor during the day is real, right? Tangwa lowers her eyes and replies, and who was it at night? Mei Lan almost collapses. The more expressionless Nyang is, the sadder she feels. How long has Nyang been keeping this secret? Tangwa chuckles softly. What are you crying for? It's not a big deal. Isn't this a big deal? The one who's wronged is Nyang. The one who's ruined is Nyang's reputation, and the one who's tarnished is your body. Mei Lan is a little angry. This servant really doesn't understand what Xin Yuanmia is thinking. You girl, you're quite bold. You actually dare to call him Xin Yuanmia. Tangwa strokes her hair. Don't worry, it's not a big deal. He likes it like this, so I'll do as he wishes. Nyang, you still like this kind of person? Once. Mei Lan is stunned. Her heart's still aching. What should Nyang do now? Pretend you don't know. Tangwa smiles. Actually, I'm quite satisfied with the person at night. He does everything according to me, much better than Xin Yuanmia. He helped me rub my knees. It's so comfortable. I've tried it. He doesn't have a human skin mask on his face. He just looks like that. Mei Lan looks at her Nyang's in high spirits and is completely dumbfounded. So, Guo is very satisfied with me? The voice that suddenly came from behind gave Mei Lan a big fright. Xin Yuanmia also did not expect that he would overhear their conversation. He suddenly wanted to see her and wanted to sneak a peek. He did not expect that she would give him such a big surprise. She seemed very satisfied with him. Xin Yuanmia's lips curled into a sly smile. Ignoring Mei Lan's shock, he walked to her side and squatted down. He placed his large palms on her knees and gently rubbed them. Let me massage Guo. Is it comfortable? Tangwa looked down and met his gaze. She smiled and said, "Yes, it's very comfortable. In the future, I'll help Guo massage her every day. Is that okay?" Tangwa hooked her arms around his neck and rubbed against his body. She narrowed her eyes. "Okay." Xinyuan Mie could no longer hold it in. He pulled her into his embrace and kissed her red lips in front of Mei Lan. Mei Lan reacted and hurriedly went out to look at the door while covering her red face. She needed to calm down. His Majesty sent her Nyang Nyang, a man who wanted to take the initiative to wear a green hat. Nyang Nyang did not object and is very satisfied with this man. This man seems to like Nyang Nyang a lot. Heavens, what's going on? Go and look at the door. This matter cannot be known by others. Tangwa pinched Xinyuan Mie's face and even tugged. Sure enough, there's no human skin mask. Her fingers slid to the corner of his mouth and she laughed. But it's still very different. When did Guo find out? Chapter 438. Tangwa looked up and stared at him with her watery eyes. When we first met, she lowered her head and pursed her lips. I found out. Xinyuan Mie quickly patted the person in his arms. With me around, no one dares to bully Guo. If Guo wants to leave the palace, I'll take you away. It was troublesome, but if he wanted to take a woman away, that stupid brother of his would not be able to stop him. I don't want to leave. Guo still likes him? Xinyuan Mie's eyes dimmed. That's right. He had intervened too late. It was normal for Guo to like that stupid brother of hers. He hugged her tightly. Xinyuan Mo is not a good person. Guo, don't like him. Why don't you like me? Tangwa laughed inwardly. This person was really thick-skinned. She had never seen someone so eager to recommend himself to her. A smile appeared on her lips as she stared at the man in front of her. It's not impossible to like you, but I need time. All right, as long as Guo is willing, I can wait. Xinyuan Mie heaved a sigh of relief. He had thought that this person would be in so much pain when she found out the truth. He did not expect her to be so understanding, which surprised him. But he felt that under that smile, there was a heart full of scars. Guo, why are you unwilling to leave? He still asked. Other than Xinyuan Mo's life and the throne, I can help you with anything. Tangwa smiled and was silent for a while. I don't want his life, and I don't care about the throne. I just want him to be in so much pain that he will regret it. I want him to be in the most glorious position in his life, but not be able to get what he wants. Her lips were cold. You want to help me with this? Yes. Anyway, it was not usurping the throne or taking his stupid brother's life. This was easy. I won't let anything happen to the family, Tang. Tangwa raised her eyebrows. I have to say, you're more tactful than Xinyuan Mo. You're even cuter. No wonder you attract more attention. My name is Xinyuan Mie. I'm Xinyuan Mo's stupid twin brother. Xinyuan Mie said ingratiatingly. He probably came out too late and his head was squashed. He can't tell the difference. Ha ha ha. Host, this person is so funny. TSK, TSK, TSK. He was sure that his host would like such a personality. He could feel that his host was very happy. Tangwa took out a medicine bottle. Under Xinyuan Mie's astonished gaze, she poured out a light yellow pill. This is called a pipe dream. What do you do? In your dreams? Tangwa looked deeply at Xinyuan Mie. You must have a lot of questions. Why didn't I leave? For what I'm going to do next, you didn't hinder me, so I have to let you have a dream. She waved the pill in her hand and laughed softly. Do you dare to eat it? If it was poison, he would lose his life. The next moment, Xinyuan Mie opened his mouth and sucked on the pill. At the same time, he sucked on her index finger and licked it gently. Why don't you dare to eat it? After saying that, Xinyuan Mie felt a little sleepy. He didn't want to think about anything else. He hugged the person in his arms and rolled onto the bed, burying his head in her neck. I fell in love with Guo at first sight. This is the reason I don't want to believe the most. But there's a feeling that I'm willing to die even if you ask me to. Xinyuan Mie's vision became more and more blurry. There was a sinister smile on his lips. Guo, did you poison me? The antidote can only be you. Peek. Chapter 439. Xinyuan Mie had a dream. Actually, he didn't know if it was a dream. He clearly remembered that Tangwa gave him a pill called a dream of golden millet. Then, he fell asleep. When he woke up again, he was in this place. It was very familiar. He was surprised. Wasn't this her palace? And now, he looked at himself. He was wearing the clothes that only the emperor could wear. His body was out of control. He walked towards the bed and a soft body jumped into his arms. He looked at the woman's face in surprise. Who else could it be but Guo? With a shy expression, she called out to him. Amo Xinyuan Mie, who was originally in a daze, suddenly woke up. No, Guo had never called him Amo because she could tell at a glance that he wasn't Xinyuan Amo. Then what was going on in front of him? His body was still out of control. Looking at the beautiful woman, he quickly fed her a pill. Then, he put her on the bed and sat by her side for the whole night. He left at the time that Xinyuan Amo told him to. Every night after that, he would come and feed her a pill as usual. Xinyuan Mie seemed to understand that this was a dream. But was the dream real or fake? But he was sure that if he didn't fall in love with Guo the first time they met, he would definitely do what he did in the dream to her. The imperial concubine was pampered for a while. She didn't expect the family to be in trouble. General Tang was framed for treason, and the family was executed. The imperial concubine was extravagant and was banished to the cold palace. Xinyuan Mie looked at all of this coldly. He felt terrible. If this was Guo from his previous life, when he saw her standing alone in the cold palace and enduring the pain in her joints every day, he asked with a pale face, why? In the dream, the imperial concubine didn't do anything evil. She was just a little arrogant. She murmured more than once. It was Imo who said that she didn't have to endure. It was Imo who said that he could protect her. It was Imo who said that she was the most powerful in the palace. She didn't have to give in to anyone in front of her. It was Imo who said that she could do whatever she wanted. It was precisely because of Xinyuan Mo's love that she fell deeply into it and never took the initiative to deal with the other concubines. She had waited in the cold palace for a long time, waiting for the family to be executed, waiting for Xinyuan Mo to make a Ningxiang his empress. She sneaked out and hid in a corner, eavesdropping on their sweet talk. Xinyuan Mo hugged and Ningxiang lovingly inside. Ningxiang is finally Zhan's empress. Only then did she realize that Xinyuan Mo did not love her. She was just a Ningxiang's shield. Barefooted, she staggered back to the cold palace and set fire to the cold palace, burning herself to death. When Xinyuan Mie saw her body being burned by the fire, she did not move at all. She did not even struggle. It was as if her body could not feel pain. That sorrowful and lonely gaze pierced through his heart. As long as he thought that this was Guo'er's previous life, his heart would clench in pain. When Xinyuan Mie woke up, the person in his arms was sleeping soundly with her eyes closed. He gently caressed her cheek, and for a moment, he felt indescribably complicated. You're awake? Tangwa opened her eyes and met Xinyuan Mie's complicated gaze. You must have a lot of emotions. Xinyuan Mie didn't say anything. He only hugged her and patted her gently. In this life, I will protect you, as long as you don't get in my way. Tangwa chuckled. You'd better be cuter. Peek. Chapter 440. Are your legs feeling better? Late at night, Xinyuan Mie carefully rubbed her legs with ointment. Realizing the pain she was enduring, his hands became much gentler. I found a good civilian doctor. This ointment was given by him. Rub it more every day, and it won't hurt so much in rainy weather. Meilon stood silently at the door. When she heard the man inside whispering to her consort in such a gentle manner, her heart was filled with complicated emotions. On one hand, she was an imperial consort. She shouldn't be involved with any man other than the emperor. If she was discovered, she would be doomed eternally. On the other hand, she was thinking that this man was allowed by the emperor. The empress had taken a fancy to this person. Wasn't that the emperor asking for it? She even felt a faint sense of pleasure from revenge. Guo, do you still like Xinyuan Mo? Xinyuan Mie asked nervously as he rubbed her knees. This woman was not someone he could control. Subconsciously, He had a feeling that he should never try to play tricks in front of her. She liked honest and obedient people. Thinking of this, Xinyuan Mie found it funny. He was the hidden emperor of the Tianqin kingdom after all, but he couldn't do anything to this little woman. He was even willing to rub her legs. Tangwa raised her eyebrows. She wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him on the cheek. I don't like it anymore. Since you don't like it anymore, leave with me. You can take your revenge slowly. Xinyuan Mie's eyes lit up. He couldn't help but touch the kiss on his face. Although he secretly kissed her every day, it was different from her taking the initiative to kiss him. Tangwa shook her head. I will never leave the palace in my life. Xinyuan Mie froze and his heart sank. Could it be that she still had thoughts about Xinyuan Emo? What are you thinking about? Tangwa pinched his handsome face and pressed her lips against his. To you, no matter where I am, isn't it the same as long as I am? Xinyuan Mie was stunned for a moment and looked at her in disbelief. Guo you. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. I want to be the most favored imperial consort in the imperial palace, and I want to be lovey-dovey with Xinyuan Mo's older brother all day long in front of him. Her slender hand pressed against his chest, and she looked up with a smile. If you're not willing, you don't have to agree. You're included in my revenge. Who asked Xinyuan Mo to send you here? Tangwa glanced at him. If you don't want to, you can leave by yourself. As soon as she finished speaking, Xinyuan Mie grabbed her waist and pressed his forehead against hers. Their noses touched, and they were very close to each other. I'm willing. I only have one condition. Guo is not allowed to get too close to Xinyuan Mo. In the future, you are not allowed to make delicious food for Xinyuan Mo. How could that stupid and bad brother deserve to eat Guo's food? Tangwa smiled. Greedy. All right, I agree. After all, you will be the adulterer of the heavenly Qin Empire's imperial concubine in the future. This reputation will be wronging you. Adulterer? Xinyuan Mie's expression turned ugly. Then, he remembered that Xinyuan Mo was still a cuckold. He felt a little better. An adulterer was an adulterer. In any case, Guo was his. He resigned himself to his fate and helped Tangwa wipe her feet dry. Then, he carried her to the couch and carefully held her in his arms. His bright eyes stared at her, and the light in his eyes became more and more evil. Guo. The man's Adam's apple bobbed as he looked at that person's red cheeks. He wanted to lean over and kiss her. Seeing that she heard his voice, her watery eyes revealed a hint of a smile, with a different kind of flirtatious feeling. He finally hugged her tightly in his arms and bit her red lips. The softness of his touch made him feel a different kind of satisfaction. Adulterer was also quite good. It sounded much better than being a cuckold. Female supporting lead. Calm down. Peak. Chapter 441. Xinyuan Mo hadn't been having a good time recently. Originally, he came to the imperial consort's place during the day to freeload food. Ever since the last rainy day, the mysterious chef returned home and never came back. Eating the same food in the palace every day, his temper became more and more irritable. He really wanted to eat some desserts after dinner, such as the lotus seed soup he ate for the first time. It was fragrant and left a lasting aftertaste. On this day, while eating, Xinyuan Mo inadvertently mentioned that kitchen maid. She's dead. Tangwa wiped the corner of her mouth and said indifferently, She's dead. Xinyuan Mo felt that it was a pity and a little regretful. He couldn't help but ask, how did she die? I didn't expect that Mo would also care about these insignificant people in the palace. Xinyuan Mo coughed lightly and said uncomfortably, her culinary skills are very good. We just feel that it's a pity. I also feel that it's a pity. Tangwa met Xinyuan Mo's gaze and sighed. I also don't know why she couldn't figure it out. Xinyuan Mo was surprised. She died because of me. What injustice did she suffer? Tangwa lowered her head, and the corner of her mouth curved. My father found her to cook for me in the palace. That day, something happened at home, so she asked for leave from me and went back. Later on, when I heard news of her again, it was the news of her death. I had someone investigate the reason. It was that day when she went back. She caught her husband and another woman in the act. Her husband once promised her a lifetime. She didn't expect that only a month later, Her husband had someone else. Later on, her husband actually wanted to take in that woman who had an affair with him. Of course, she wouldn't agree. But that woman found her, which means that she and her husband were childhood sweethearts and were very loving to begin with. As for why he married her, wasn't it because of her family background? The kitchen maid's family is in business, and now it's all controlled by her husband. If he wanted to take in a concubine, she really couldn't stop him. On the night her husband took in a concubine, she burned herself to death. A fire burned down all the houses, burned down all the family property. After Tanghua finished speaking, she saw Xianyuan Mo's shocked expression and hugged his arm. Mo, did I scare you? Why would I be scared? It's just that this story is very tragic. Xianyuan Mo reacted, and for some reason, he felt a little guilty. That cook's death was not worth it. Does Mo think so too? Tanghua smiled. I think so too. Even if we have to die, we have to kill the two of them together. When Tanghua said this with a bright smile, Xianyuan Mo's eyelids twitched. Don't make promises that you can't keep. People will misunderstand. Mo, don't you think so? Xianyuan Mo had already lost his appetite and nodded carelessly. Of course. I believe that Mo is not such a person. Mo is the emperor, and he does not take his words lightly. An innocent and pure smile appeared on her beautiful face. Mo said that he would protect me, and he will definitely protect me. Mo said that he would pamper me, and he will pamper me forever. Mo said that he would not like anyone else, so he definitely won't. Mo is not that kind of hateful person. In my heart, Mo is the best person. Xianyuan Mo's heart trembled, and he didn't dare to look at those bright eyes. He made an excuse that he still had something to do and left. Mei Lan's neck was about to shrink into her stomach. She watched her Gui Fei Nyang happily eat the food after the emperor left, and her back was drenched in sweat. Translator. Hinyi Translations Editor. Hinyi Translations Female Supporting Lead. Calm down. Peak. Chapter 442. Xianyuan Mo is the best person? What's so good about that scumbag? Xianyuan Mie's face was cold. At this moment, he really wanted to grab Xianyuan Mo and give him a good beating. He looked at Tanghua anxiously. Gua tell me, how does he look like a good person? You can take this seriously? Tanghua patted Xianyuan Mie's face comfortingly. Don't lower yourself to his level. Aren't I just lying to him? But I can't listen to such words. After saying that, he forcefully wrapped his arms around Tanghua's waist and rubbed his face against hers. Gua is my woman. Even if it's a lie, even if it's a lie, even if it's a lie, I can't accept it. How can he be worthy of being called the best person? After saying that, he looked at Tanghua's eyes with a slightly wronged gaze. She was still looking at him with a smile. Gua, do you like me? After getting along with her, he was no longer satisfied with just having her body. He also wanted to have her heart. If Amye performs better, I can like you a little more. How should I perform? Amye will have to figure it out himself. She smiled faintly and patted his handsome face. In the future, just take it that I'm praising Xianyuan Mo. In fact, I'm scolding him and mocking him. What's the point of arguing with a cuckold? Cuckold? Xianyuan Mie laughed out loud. He instantly felt better. What a cuckold. It's a very appropriate title. Gua you said that if I perform well, you'll like me a little more, right? Of course. He hugged her and lay on the bed together. Gua, just you wait. I'll definitely perform well, and work hard to make you like me a little more. So, Gua regardless of whether Xianyuan Mo regrets it in the future, don't like him, okay? Tanghua was slightly stunned. She had never met such a character before. Looking at his slightly red ears, she laughed. Of course, I won't like him anymore. As long as you perform well, I'll only like you for the rest of my life. Then I'll have to work hard. Xianyuan Mie was elated when he got his answer. I won't disappoint you, Gua Xianyuan Mo, that stupid younger brother of his. Sometimes, he even suspected that the two of them were not biological brothers. Otherwise, why would he be so smart and so stupid towards him? If he didn't want such a pearl, then he must be blind. Gua if you compare us carefully, after a long time, You'll realize how wise your decision to choose me was. Xinyuan Mie praised himself while mocking Xinyuan Emo. The system couldn't help but laugh. Tangwa closed her eyes and contacted the system. This Xinyuan Mie is quite thick-skinned. Dear host, I think he's not bad. He's handsome, rich, and only treats you well. His martial arts skills are superb, and he's also a loyal dog. I think so. That's right. There aren't many people who only like Madam Host. I think he's the only one left in this world. In this world, the only person who could make the host so happy was Xinyuan Mie. He was quite capable. Tangwa leaned against the man's thick chest and wrapped her arms around his waist. She said softly, Mie, if you're more obedient, I'll like you a little more. Guo-er. Xinyuan Mie let her rest on one hand and wrapped the other around her waist. His gaze was serious. I'll be obedient and only listen to Guo-er. I don't want a stupid younger brother. Chapter 443. Every day when Xinyuan Emo came to the imperial consort's palace, he could see the glaring marks on her neck, wrists, and even her chin. However, the imperial consort still looked at him shyly, as if to say that it was all his fault. He felt very wronged. He did not do these things at all. He ate the food that was not to his liking in the past, but he could not ignore the marks on the beautiful woman's neck. He held his chopsticks tightly and fiercely picked up the food, chewing with all his might. Imo, are you unhappy? Hearing the concerned words, Xinyuan Mo's expression softened. When he looked at her, he could not ignore those glaring marks. He quickly shifted his gaze elsewhere. No, there are some matters in court. Hearing this, Tangwa did not ask anymore. It was a taboo for a harem woman to interfere in politics. She buried her head and ate with relish. Every day when she saw the Green Hat King's sullen expression, she was in a good mood. When she was in a good mood, her appetite was also good. During the day, the Green Hat King entertained her and provided her with food and clothes. At night, she had an adulterer to serve her. There was no better time than this. When she was in a good mood, Tangwa ate 2 bowls of rice. Xinyuan Emo, who had a bad appetite, looked at her with red eyes. The imperial consort's appetite has been good recently? Tangwa wiped the corners of her mouth and smiled. Yes, my appetite has been getting better and better recently. I unknowingly ate more. Imo, you don't mind, right? With such a pitiful appearance, who could bear to blame her for eating too much? However, Xinyuan Mo's heart tightened. Although he rarely paid attention to the harem, he understood that a woman's sudden appetite was very likely to be pregnant. Thinking of this, his expression changed. He allowed Xinyuan Mie to have this woman, but he did not want this woman to be pregnant with Xinyuan Mie's child. If she really was pregnant, it would be a shame that could not be washed away for the rest of his life. Is the imperial consort's health better recently? Very well. Tangwa's lips curled. What was the Green Hat King thinking of? Xinyuan Mo's face was full of concern and love. But Jean is worried. Let's call the imperial physician over. Without waiting for Tangwa to speak, he asked Uniquely to call the imperial physician. After a while, the imperial physician came over to take Tangwa's pulse. Xinyuan Mo's face darkened as he clenched his fists. Please don't let it be what he thought. When he thought of the possibility, his heart felt suffocated. Imperial concubine Yang Yang's health has been very good recently, and the cold energy in her body has lessened greatly. The old imperial physician narrowed his eyes and stroked his beard as he nodded repeatedly. It seems that imperial concubine Yang Yang has listened to my previous words. She must have been well recuperating recently. Tangwa's lips curved. That's right. Recently, this queen has been paying attention to these things. Every day, there are people who specially massage this queen's legs. Their skills aren't bad and this queen is very comfortable. Then he should be rewarded. Xinyuan Emo said from the side. I've already rewarded him. Since he served me well, I naturally have to reward him well. Tangwa said with a smile. At the side, Mei Lan, who had her head lowered, only wanted to press her head into her stomach. Her liver trembled. Nyang Yang, you're a little arrogant like this, ah? Xinyuan Emo casually asked the imperial physician. Other than these, is there anything else? Imperial concubine Yang Yang is doing well. Your Majesty can rest assured. Xinyuan Imo let out a sigh of relief. That's good. However, he had taken this matter to heart. Imperial concubine definitely couldn't be pregnant with Xinyuan Mie's child. Imperial concubine was only a shield for him to use for the incense tree. Once the family Tang collapsed and the Yin family was established, Ning Xiang would become his empress. Imperial concubine Yang Yang would be useless. He definitely couldn't leave behind a child that didn't belong to him. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations Female Supporting Lead. Calm down. Top point. Chapter 444. Not long after noon, Xinyuan Mo's reward came again. At that time, Tangwa was playing mahjong with Ming Fei, Yin Fei, and the others. Seeing the palace maids coming over with the reward, Yin Fei said sourly, "Our emperor really dotes on Gui Fei Nyang Yang. Is big sister Yin Fei envious?" Hirongwa smiled. "If big sister is in a bad mood, let little sister play for a while." Hearing this, Yin Fei looked vigilant and spat. "Little sister it's not that big sister doesn't want to let you play, but your mahjong skills are really terrible. Big sister is right not to let you play, so that you won't lose your belly band to Gui Fei Nyang Yang later." Hirongwa was very disappointed. In the end, in big sister Yin Fei's heart, mahjong is more important. Yin Fei kept playing mahjong with her hands, the corners of her mouth twitching. In any case, this Fei can win at mahjong, so there's some hope. If I do other things, I might not have such gains, and I might even be angry. What other things were? The people in the room had a tacit understanding. After interacting with Gui Fei Nyang Yang for a long time, they felt more and more that there was nothing attractive about the emperor. It was not as interesting as the things in Gui Fei Nyang Yang's hands. Rather than trying to fight for favor, it was better to treat themselves better. Every day, they would play mahjong, eat some beauty porridge, and apply the beauty masks that Gui Fei Nyang Yang taught them. They would return to the palace in a good mood, which was much more interesting than before. Of course, in addition to playing mahjong, they also liked Gui Fei Nyang Yang's books, which were really interesting. The imperial concubines who couldn't sit at the table read in the side hall. After reading so many interesting books, they felt that fighting over a rotten cucumber was really meaningless. Forget it. I'll go to the side hall to read. I'm afraid it won't be my turn today." Hirongwa stood up regretfully and was helped to the side hall by a palace maid. "I've only read half of that book about how palace fighting is not as good as beauty. The content is really interesting. Kong Chai, go look for it." "I finished reading that book long ago." Ming Fei smiled and said while playing mahjong, "Recently, I've been looking at the delicacies of Buddhist imperial concubines. There are many recipes, and I'm letting the chef try them one by one. The taste is really good. When the chef is skilled, I'll send some for big sister Gui Fei Nyang Yang another day." Tangwa smiled as she sipped her tea. "Sure." At the same time, he communicated with the system. "Find more books of the same genre for them." "Understood, Madam Host." The system clicked its tongue in its heart. Xinyuan Imo, that cuckold, probably didn't know that his concubines were gradually forgetting about him. Look at these first-class beauties. They only want to read books, play mahjong, eat delicious food, and do beauty treatments all day long. How could they have the time to fight for favor? However, Xinyuan Imo didn't know. He thought that these imperial concubines had been bullied in the Tangwa Palace. In fact, he didn't know that these imperial concubines had left with red eyes not because Tangwa had made them angry, but because they had lost the game. Fortunately, the money that he had painstakingly won was lost in 2 rounds, and he even owed a huge debt. Not many people were not jealous. Otherwise, they would snatch the book to read. Those who didn't win would feel depressed and leave. That was normal. Tangwa glanced at the tray at the side. After a round, she said, "Concubine Yun, come to Bin Gong's seat. Bin Gong wants to see what His Majesty has sent." Concubine Yun was delighted and quickly nodded. She wasn't curious about the reward. After waiting for so long, she just wanted to play a few rounds. After watching for a while, her hands were itching. Chapter 445. Woven Gold Beauty Ivory Palace Fan. Tangwa played with it for a while. "It looks pretty good. Bin Gong likes it." "Put it away. I'll use it when the weather gets warmer. Blue cloud jade hairpin. Exquisite workmanship, it looks pretty. Wear it tomorrow. Tangwa's gaze finally landed on a beautiful incense burner with several boxes of incense next to it. Gui Fei Nyang Yang, His Majesty specially found this for you. It's said to promote sleep, calm the mind, and smell good. The palace maid hurriedly explained Li Gonggong's instructions. Does Nyang Yang want to try it now? Tangwa picked up the calming incense and took a light sniff, praising, as expected, it's very fragrant. I won't light it. Bin Gong likes to enjoy this kind of good stuff alone. Meng Fei and the others burst into laughter, not minding. They were just curious. What kind of incense was it that Gui Fei Nyang Yang wanted to enjoy it alone? Gui Fei Nyang Yang wasn't a stingy person. Recently, she had given them quite a few good things. What kind of incense would make Gui Fei Jiejie so precious? Meng Fei asked with a smile, her eyes full of curiosity. Tangwa's brows lifted slightly as she said meaningfully, this incense, other than Bin Gong. No one else can enjoy it. It's better for Bin Gong to enjoy it alone. All right, Gui Fei Jiejie can't bear to part with it. Younger sister doesn't like to take advantage of others. These days, I've gotten quite a few good things from Jiejie. Yin Fei also giggled. She also wasn't interested in incense. Tangwa didn't explain and pointed at the incense burner and calming incense, calling Mei Lan over, take it to the inner hall and light it for Bin Gong. Bin Gong just happens to be a bit tired, so Bin Gong will go in and rest for a while. Mei Lan didn't suspect anything and took the incense and incense burner inside. Tangwa bid farewell to the others and let them play on their own before following them inside. Smelling the pleasant scent, she took off her outer clothes and laid down on the couch. She glanced at the smoke rising from the incense burner and smiled elegantly. This incense smells pretty good. Host, this incense doesn't have any problems with your body, right? This incense does promote sleep, calm the mind, and is good for the body. There's only one disadvantage. What was it? Sterilization. The system had learned something new. Was Xinyuan Imo doing this on purpose? Was this guy trying to kill himself? The host could hold a grudge, even though it was impossible for her to get pregnant. He didn't know why, but it was impossible for the host's body to become pregnant. But whether the host was pregnant or not was different from others wanting to make her infertile. Actually, this body doesn't need to be affected by me, and it's impossible for her to have a child unless she recuperates well. That time when she fell into the water, the cold air entered her body and damaged her body. Tangwa smiled. Xinyuan Imo is afraid that I might have Xinyuan Mie's child, so he wants to strike first to gain the upper hand and prevent such a thing from happening. He's courting death and has successfully attracted my attention. The system gulped. This idea was different from Xinyuan Mie's. This consort will satisfy him. After that, Tangwa closed her eyes. Tangwa only used the calming incense during her afternoon nap. The next day, when Xinyuan Imo asked her about it, she said that she was used to taking an afternoon nap every day, and that the timing of her nap was just right. Xinyuan Imo didn't tell Xinyuan Mie about this. He had ordered people to secretly search for that incense. It was a long-lost item, and people who didn't know about it all thought that it was something good. I like it a lot. Thank you, Imo. I will definitely use it during my afternoon nap every day. When I finish using it in the future, Imo, you must find more for me. Xinyuan Mo's arm trembled. Looking at the woman's sweet smile and blissful expression, he didn't know why, but his heart felt stifled. Chapter 446. Xinyuan Mie went to Tangwa's palace every day and served her comfortably. Mei Lan had been scared witless at the beginning, but now she was calm and composed. Every time Xinyuan Mie came, she would consciously guard the door. In her heart, she thought that the imperial concubine had suffered enough. This man who looked like the emperor definitely had an extraordinary identity. Things had already come to this, and this man treated her ladyship so well. No matter what the final result was, it was fine as long as her ladyship was happy. Mei Lan, this girl, is a smart one. Xinyuan Mie hugged the person in his arms and kissed her neck. He said in a low voice, that stupid brother of mine plans to make a move on father-in-law. What does Gua want me to do? Tangwa rubbed against the man's chest and snorted. Tell father the truth. Tell him everything, whether it's Xinyuan Mo's thoughts, our matters, or my thoughts. Father-in-law is probably going to go crazy. He will find out sooner or later. We should let him be prepared. In the future, he will slowly get used to his daughter being the current imperial consort, and also the imperial consort who made the emperor a cuckold in public. Xinyuan Mie's heart burned when he heard this. He couldn't help but tighten his arms around her. Guo is really a bad woman. Then you still like me? I like you. I like you very much. I like people like you. He sighed. He liked her so much that he didn't even want a younger brother. They were clearly brothers, but he didn't know why his younger brother was so stupid. Tangwa raised the corner of her mouth. Right now, Xinyuan Mo should be in Ningxiang's palace. Only Guo knows. Xinyuan Mie chuckled. He looked into her eyes and said, That's right. When I came here, he secretly went to Ningxiang's palace. Ningxiang's palace is remote, and there are all his people inside. No one can tell that there's a mistake. He's a really infatuated person. Tangwa looked up and met Xinyuan Mie's deep eyes. She suddenly smiled. Is it a grievance to be my adulterer? Not at all. You will be scolded by many people in the future. Won't it be a grievance? No, I'm willing. She wrapped her arms around his majestic waist and snorted. I like Mie a little more. That's great. Xinyuan Mie was overjoyed. He couldn't wait to die by her side. Even if he died, his soul would stay with her. At the same time, in Ningxiang's palace, there were two people cuddling together. Ningxiang's finger drew circles on Xinyuan Mo's chest, her heart filled with satisfaction. She finally knew the truth. The person who went to the imperial concubine's palace every night was not the emperor. The imperial concubine seemed to be favored, but in fact, she was arranged by the emperor to be a wild man. Her body had long been unclean, but on the surface, she was just beautiful. The unhappiness in his heart also subsided when he found out the truth. As long as Imo was with her and secretly loved her, it didn't matter if she was a concubine or not. However, Imo was very considerate of her. He even wanted to pave the way for her to become the empress. She naturally had to appreciate it. She had to keep a low profile so that she wouldn't let Imo down. When the family became strong, Imo would not be so difficult. Imo, you're so nice. Ningxiang lay in Xinyuan Mo's arms and smiled sweetly. I like you so much, Imo. You're so nice. It was different from the emperor in her imagination. It was said that the son of heaven was heartless, but her Imo had feelings. Soon, the family tang will fall, Xinyuan Mo said lightly. When the family grows, Ningxiang will be my empress. He pursed his lips. He didn't know why, but when he said this, his mind was actually thinking of another woman who smiled sweetly at him with a happy face. He shook his head and sneered. That woman was flirting with his imperial brother all day long. She was no longer a clean woman. Thinking of her, he was afraid that he would go crazy. Let your father prepare. The family's road to growth will use the family tang as a stepping stone. Chapter 447. Did you bring the message to father? Yes. Did you give the letter to father? I did too. Xinyuan Mie replied and sighed. Actually, I have a way. There's no need for father-in-law to fake his death to escape. Why doesn't Guo believe me? Could it be that he couldn't protect his own woman's father? Yeah, don't be too petty. She fed him a grape and said, Aren't I ordering Mie around every day? Why are you still thinking about such a small matter? Xinyuan Mie swallowed the grape and secretly kissed her on the cheek. I just want to dote on Guo, hold Guo, and treat you well. That's a good idea. I like it. Tangwa smiled in satisfaction and fed him another piece of apple. I had an idea when I asked father to fake his death. Yeah, do you want to know? If Guo says it, I want to know. Tangwa smiled. What a smart person. Of course. I'm not that idiot Xinyuan Mo. His brain was crushed by a door. He hugged the person in his arms and felt strangely satisfied. This person was his, and this person's heart was also his. That idiot brother of his deserved to be abandoned. Tangwa smiled. I want to be awe-inspiring in the palace for the rest of my life. Once our relationship is exposed, even if Xinyuan and Mo can't do anything to us, what about the courtiers? They will definitely pressure the royal family. How can I, a mere imperial concubine, stop them? If you want to usurp the throne, then there's no point. The capable can hold it. The capable can hold it. Once you become the emperor, no one can say anything about marrying me. It's not like there hasn't been such a thing since ancient times. Xinyuan Mia narrowed his eyes and stared at the person whose eyes were emitting evil thoughts. His heart was burning. He liked her too much. He liked the way she smiled, liked the way she schemed against others. He liked her so much that he liked her to the bottom of his heart. If my father is a tyrant, what can the courtiers of the Tianqin kingdom do to me? If my father gives the order, he can take down the entire Tianqin kingdom. Who would dare to question me? If I'm unhappy, I'll ask my father to come and occupy the Tianqin kingdom. They won't even dare to fart. Xinyuan Mie's eyes shone brightly. What an amazing guar. This idea was really brilliant. I don't want your heavenly Qin empire. I want you. Tangwa said with a smile. Xinyuan Mie's heart was pounding for her. The feeling of being forcefully owned by someone was simply too wonderful. I want it too. Xinyuan Mo can't take it off even if he wants to. Even if he wants to take it off, the entire court has to stop him. Yeah. What do you think? What else could Xinyuan Mie say? He only said, all right, good, good, good. Everything she said was good. It was no wonder that when he told his father-in-law about what had happened, the other party had almost jumped up and fought him. His face was red with anger, and he had probably wanted to rebel at that time. However, after reading Guo-er's letter, his father-in-law calmed down. His eyes flickered as if he was calculating something. It turned out that it was Guo-er who had expressed her thoughts in the letter. Father-in-law spoiled his daughter so much. No matter how loyal a person was, after hearing Xinyuan Mo's actions, they wouldn't have any loyalty left. A general who held great power and was feared by the emperor definitely couldn't be a foolishly loyal person. Tangwa pushed Xinyuan Mie away and took out a large box from the house. She placed it in front of Xinyuan Mie and said, Mie, give these to my father. He needs money to recruit troops and buy horses. Opening the box, there was a thick stack of banknotes inside. It was unknown how many there were, but they were all in large denominations. Other than the banknotes, there were also 2 cultivation techniques. She smiled and used Xinyuan Mo's reward to sell it to recruit troops for her father. She asked Xinyuan Mo, was it a surprise? Chapter 448. Xinyuan Mo had already discussed with his trusted aide how to bring down the family Tang. General Tang was a meritorious official of the heavenly Qin kingdom and had always made Xinyuan Mo fearful. If one wanted to destroy such a person, ordinary crimes were useless. The strategists below thought of a plan to frame General Tang for treason. With such a crime, no matter how great the merit was, it was useless. Although the heavenly Qin kingdom seemed to be peaceful, in fact, there were wars at the border every year. However, they were not fierce. Most of them were small tribes invading the border. Taking advantage of a slightly larger tribe invading the border of the heavenly Qin kingdom, Xinyuan Mo sent General Tang out. The clear meaning was to let the great general's reputation suppress the border. In reality, it was just a plan that he had been planning for a long time. He had a beautiful plan and had been thinking about it for a long time. He believed that there would be no mistakes. However, he never expected that a month later, he would receive a terrifying piece of news. The tribe at the border was actually a very large tribe. They had planted spies in the heavenly Qin kingdom and had found their way to General Tang's side. They had poisoned General Tang, causing him to be killed when he was fighting the enemy. After that, the spy was captured by General Tang's trusted aide and revealed his origins. He also explained that their tribe had many spies who had infiltrated the heavenly Qin kingdom. He did not know the details. Xinyuan Mo was truly dumbfounded. He had completely forgotten about framing General Tang. General Tang had been framed and died in battle. Now, he had no way to carry out his previous plan. He still had to appease the family Tang and take care of General Tang's funeral. He also had to give him a posthumous title. Xinyuan Mo had a headache and was worried about what the spy had said. Could there really be so many spies in the heavenly Qin kingdom? General Tang's matter meant that the other party had hidden it very well. General Tang had been poisoned and died in battle. This had completely disrupted Xin Yuanmo's plans. After dealing with all kinds of troubles, he still had to comfort the sorrowful imperial concubine. He even went to a Ningxiang's place less. The Yin family was also somewhat dumbfounded. They could only silently hide in a corner, not daring to make a sound. The imperial concubines had not been making a fuss recently. They did not play mahjong. Every day, someone would come to Tanggua's palace to express their concern. Imperial concubine Jiejia, my condolences. Concubine Ming didn't know what to say. With General Tang's death, imperial concubine Yang Yang's backer had fallen. However, she wasn't very happy. Recently, she had gotten along well with imperial concubine Yang Yang. She had also read a lot of novels, and she had learned a lot of principles. The imperial concubines were not fools. The book belonged to the imperial concubine, so she must have read it. It was impossible for the imperial consort to not understand the logic that they could understand. His Majesty made Tanggua imperial consort not because he liked her. As for the favor later on, it was not necessarily not because of General Tang. Tanggua's eyes were red as she said, "This consort is fine. Mei Lan, light some calming incense for Bin Gong." Mei Lan did as she was told. Not long after, green smoke rose in spirals, and the fragrance that assaulted Meng Fei's face made her so comfortable that she closed her eyes. Suddenly, concubine Meng opened her eyes and looked at the imperial concubine who had fallen asleep on the soft couch. She then looked at the burning incense with an indescribable expression. "Mei Lan, what kind of incense is this? Where did it come from?" Concubine Meng clenched her hands tightly. Previously, she had heard that it was called calming incense. It couldn't have been sent by His Majesty, right? Mei Lan said, "This is something that His Majesty specially found for Nyang Yang. It's called calming incense." Concubine Meng almost fell over, but she hurriedly steadied herself. As she looked at the sleeping Tanggua, a bitter smile appeared on her face. Her heart was cold. It turned out that imperial concubine Yang Yang, who had been greatly favored for a time, was not His Majesty's true love. She had been envious of this for a long time. In the end, it really made her feel sad. It's not good to light this incense for too long. Imperial concubine Jiejia is already asleep. Withdraw it. Chapter 449. Mei Lan obediently removed the calming incense, but Meng Fei didn't leave. She waited for Tanggua to wake up. "Meng Fei hasn't left yet?" "No, I'm waiting for Gue Fei Jiejia." Tanggua got up and put on her clothes. Then she asked, "Is there anything else? If Meng Fei is bored, go back to your palace to play. Bin Gong isn't in the mood right now." Mimi isn't in the mood either. Meng Fei sighed and changed the topic. "Jiejia likes that calming incense very much. It's a gift from His Majesty." "Of course I like it." Tangua's mouth curved. "After lighting this incense, I can sleep well." "Gue Fei Jiejia, this incense is good, but it's better to light less." Meng Fei didn't know what to say. There were many spies in the palace. The more she said, the more mistakes she would make. Originally, she wanted to remind Tanggua, but this matter was related to His Majesty. She didn't dare to speak carelessly. She held Tanggua's hand and whispered, "Gue Fei Jiejia, I heard that every medicine is 30% poisonous. This incense is the same." Tanggua met Meng Fei's eyes and smiled. "His Majesty gave it to me. I'm used to lighting it every day. If I don't light it, I won't get used to it. I'm afraid he won't be happy if I put it away." She pushed Meng Fei away. "Meng Fei, go back. I'll find you to play again later." Meng Fei didn't speak again. How should she remind her? She didn't know if she should speak about this matter. She got up and was about to leave when Tanggua called her from behind. "Meng Fei, Gue Fei Jiejia." Meng Fei turned around and saw Tanggua smiling. "Don't think about this incense anymore. He gave it to me, so I'm willing to light it." Meng Fei was shocked. She looked at Tanggua in disbelief. There was only one thought in her mind. Gue Fei already knew? Since she knew, why did she still use it? Thinking back to that sentence just now, "He gave it to me, So I'm willing to light it. Consort Meng smiled bitterly and nodded. Yes, younger sister understands. No wonder. No wonder Consort Gue had so many books here. She was able to wake them up, but not herself. Was she unwilling to wake up? Meng Fei felt her heart turn cold. Where will the emperor's heart fall? Or, it wouldn't fall on any woman. The emperor didn't have a heart to begin with. She staggered away, and the last bit of hope she had for the emperor dissipated. Why bother? Fortunately, she had not fallen too deeply. It was a pity that a beauty like the imperial consort had been treated so ruthlessly. To think that Xinyuan could be so ruthless about the long-lost peacefulness incense. Tangwa watched as Ming Fei left in a daze. She raised her eyebrows slightly, and the corners of her mouth turned up. The women in the palace are really good at imagining things. Just by revealing a little bit, they can guess the entire plot. The women in the palace have never disappointed me. How did Madame Host know that concubine Ming could tell that there was something wrong with the incense? Wasn't it introduced in the plot? Is that so? Why didn't he notice? In the plot, when Ming Fei appeared, didn't she say that her mother was a descendant of the incense maker? Kiki lost her mother when she was 8 years old. Would her mother be willing to ruin such good craftsmanship in her own hands? Isn't there still a plot after that? Consort Ming never uses incense. There was once when she even reminded Consort Yin not to light incense, saying that the incense is not good. I am going to read the plot. After General Tang died in battle, Tangwa naturally became sick. This illness lasted for half a year. Of course, Xinyuan would come to see her every day during the day, but after seeing her, he would leave in a hurry. After General Tang died in battle, the morale of the soldiers of the Tianqin kingdom was greatly reduced, causing the tribes at the border to repeatedly invade, as if they were demonstrating against the Tianqin kingdom. Chapter 450. The plan had been completely disrupted, and the most prestigious general had been poisoned to death by the enemy. The citizens of the Tianqin kingdom were furious. However, those tribes were very happy. Even the great general of the Tianqin kingdom had been schemed against by them. Wouldn't that mean that they could snatch resources and beauties from the Tianqin kingdom? Xinyuan was so busy that he didn't have the time to plan for the imperial concubine to step down and confer the title to his beloved woman. In the imperial court, when he asked who could go to the border to quell the chaos, his gaze suddenly fell on the father and son of the Yin family. The Yin family was also a military general, and there were quite a few men in the Yin family. Xinyuan pondered for a moment. Those tribes only looked fierce. They had underestimated each other before, which was why they had been tricked. This time, it might be an opportunity for the Yin family to rise up. If the father and son of the Yin family were to quell the chaos, he could first raise Ning Xiang's status. Compared to suddenly conferring Ning Xiang as the empress, it was more fitting. When the time came, the father and son of the Yin family would only raise a Ning Xiang status. However, he would not go to the other party and would still go to the imperial concubine's palace. The others would not take Ning Xiang seriously, and by doing so, it proved that he doted on the imperial concubine more. When the plan came to his mind, Xinyuan gave the father and son of the Yin family a look. Actually, even if Xinyuan didn't say it, the Yin family also had the same idea. He immediately stood up and volunteered to fight. After the matter was resolved, Xinyuan felt much better and decided to secretly tell Ning Xiang about it at night. But during the day, he still had to go to the imperial concubine's palace to take a look. When he arrived at the imperial concubine's palace, he did not stop the palace maids from reporting. He walked in with light steps and saw the thin beauty leaning on the soft couch and flipping through a book. Her face was not as rosy as it was half a year ago. Her face was still as beautiful as ever, but there was a hint of melancholy between her brows, making one's heart ache unknowingly. Xinyuan subconsciously ignored that feeling and made a sound. He walked in front of her and asked, "What book is the imperial concubine reading?" "Some interesting books." Tangwa put the book aside. Most of them are books made up of secret court histories from ancient dynasties. Xinyuan picked it up and flipped through it, but his brows furrowed. Why does the imperial concubine like to read these novels? His hands were still trembling. Because wasn't what the novel was talking about what he was doing? I'm just a little bored. Tangua looked up at him. Imo, you're the only one I have in the future. Hearing this, Xinyuan Mo's heart tightened. What is Imperial Consort worried about? I'm afraid that Imo will leave me in the future, and then I'll really be all alone. The woman's eyes dimmed. There are so many beauties in the palace. Imo might fall in love with someone else one day. I'm not afraid of people saying that I'm a jealous consort, and I'm not afraid of people saying that I'm cruel. Her watery eyes stared at him. I'm just afraid that Imo doesn't like me. Just like what's written in the novel. Imo likes other women? How could that be? Imperial Consort, you're worrying too much. I won't like anyone else. Xinyuan Imo patted her shoulder. Seeing the tears on her face, he raised his hand to help her wipe them. I will protect you, even if General Tang is not here. Really? Really? Looking at her serious expression, Xinyuan Imo gritted his teeth and lied in the end. With that, he saw her reveal a brilliant smile. She hugged his waist and said in a low voice, Imo, you're so nice. They all say that emperors are heartless. Father used to say the same thing, telling me not to give you all my heart, but I didn't believe him. At that time, I told Father that Imo wasn't such a person. Sure enough, Imo really isn't that kind of person. Imo, you're so nice. Chapter 451. Xinyuan Imo walked out of the palace in a daze. His mind could not get rid of the woman's pale face, the brilliant smile, the love and trust, which made him feel heavy. From the day she entered the palace, he had not told her a single truth. She actually believed it. This was ridiculous. There was actually someone who believed every word he said. He clutched his sour heart. What was wrong with him? Why did his heart hurt and feel terrible when he thought about how he had never told her a single truth? Xinyuan Imo quickly blocked out these emotions and threw himself into the complicated politics of the court. Only when he was busy would he not let his imagination run wild. He was busy until late at night. He had forgotten to tell Ningxiang that the father and son of the Yin family were going to war. Your Majesty, are you going to noble Lady Anne's palace? Xinyuan Imo looked at the sky. Did royal brother go to the imperial concubine's palace tonight? Yes, he left very early. Xinyuan Mo's heart tightened as he clenched his fists. He didn't know why, but he had the urge to stop his royal brother. But he couldn't. He and his royal brother were exactly the same. They definitely couldn't appear in front of outsiders at the same time. The eunuch didn't know what Xinyuan Imo was thinking. He thought that he was considering whether to go to Ningxiang's palace. Just as he was about to ask, Xinyuan Imo spoke up. I won't be going tonight. Send someone to tell Ningxiang that the father and son of the Yin family are going to war. I'll go see her tomorrow night. Xinyuan Imo rubbed his temples. He had been busy all day and was indeed very tired. The eunuch did not suspect anything and did as he was told. Xinyuan Imo walked into the dark room of the palace but did not rest. This dark room led directly to Xinyuan Mie's palace. Xinyuan Mie's palace was a forbidden area in the palace. Other than him and a few trusted aides of the royal family, no one knew that the person living inside was his twin brother. Every day, they would meet here, early in the morning and late at night. If Xinyuan Mie wanted to appear in front of others, he would have to wait here. In fact, this place was originally built by the late emperor to cultivate the relationship between the two brothers. He hoped that they could get along well and protect the Tianqing kingdom together. How could the late emperor know that this place was being used by Xinyuan Imo in such a way? It was used to exchange identities so that his royal brother, Xinyuan Mie, would visit his imperial concubine. Ridiculous, truly ridiculous. He held the cold teacup in his hand, feeling very uncomfortable. Thinking of how she shyly lay in his imperial brother's arms, his heart twitched. Xinyuan Imo slapped the table in frustration. He pursed his lips tightly and stared at the weak candlelight. He felt that the night was really long, so long that it was unbelievably long. You're not allowed to get too close to my stupid brother in the future. Xinyuan Mie was carefully helping Tangwa wash her hands. He has touched other women before. He will dirty Guo'er's hands. She was obviously jealous, but she had to make it sound so elegant and refined. After wiping her hands dry, he kissed her back and placed her hands on his face before moving them to his chest. Guo only touches me and only leans in my arms. Guo. He stared at the smiling beauty in front of him. He looked extremely pitiful, like an abandoned puppy. Tangwa raised her eyebrows slightly and pinched his handsome cheeks. She stared at him and said, Yeah, you're not cute anymore." Xinyuan Mie's heart trembled. He hurriedly held her small hand and pulled her into his embrace. Guo. Tangwa yawned and glanced at the palace dress that had turned to ashes. "You've washed your hands and burned your clothes. Yeah, it's not good to be too greedy." Chapter 452. Xinyuan Imo had been waiting in the secret room all night. When he heard movement in the secret room, he raised his head stiffly and saw Xinyuan Miao walking in with a happy smile on his face. He clenched his fists and put on a fake smile. "Brother, you're late today. If you didn't come, I would have missed court." "I can make it." Xinyuan Mia sat down on his seat and said indifferently, "Go ahead." That elated look made Xinyuan Mo's mood sour. "Looks like brother had another night of fun last night. Are you very satisfied with my imperial concubine?" Of course. When Xinyuan Mia thought of that person, the smile in his eyes never disappeared. The imperial concubine is a good woman. Xinyuan Mo's heart skipped a beat as he thought of an unbelievable possibility. He stared at Xinyuan Mia. "Brother, you, don't tell me you've really taken a fancy to the imperial concubine?" When he asked this, Xinyuan Mo was especially nervous. He didn't know why, but he had a feeling that something precious was about to be snatched away. Xinyuan Mia admitted frankly and nodded. "Yes, I've taken a fancy to the imperial concubine. Otherwise, second brother, do you really think that I would be willing to listen to you and casually be with a woman day and night?" Xinyuan Mo took a step back and his expression changed. "Brother, you should know why I asked you to do this. Isn't it just for that cabbage of yours?" Xinyuan Mie sneered. "I'm not fighting with you for the cabbage. It's just that I like the imperial concubine. Now that the family Tang is gone, you don't have to be afraid of the family Tang forces. Just dote on your cabbage to your heart's content. Is there any conflict with your previous goal?" Xinyuan Mo fell silent when he heard this. After General Tang died in battle, the imperial concubine could be said to have no one to rely on. Indeed, she was no longer feared. Once the family returned with meritorious service this time, he could slowly plan for the conferment of the empress. He didn't need to worry about the imperial concubine causing any trouble. Xinyuan Mia patted Xinyuan Mo's shoulder, his deep eyes shining with an evil light. "Second brother, you've planned for so long. Don't disappoint your cabbage. As for the imperial concubine, she's already mine. When you go to see her during the day, please keep your distance and don't come into close contact with your sister-in-law. I hate it when others covet what belongs to me. Even if you're my younger brother, I won't allow it." Xinyuan Mie said, "As for what you want to do, you can do it. But the only thing is that you are not allowed to do anything to Guo. Look at your woman. If your Bai Kai dares to bully Guo, I will turn her into a rotten flower. Imperial brother, no matter what, she is still my imperial consort in name." Xinyuan Mie shook his head and smiled. "Second brother, since she's your imperial concubine, why did you ask me to do that kind of thing? From the day you decided, it was impossible between the two of you. Regardless of whether you like the imperial concubine or not, this matter has already decided that there is no possibility between the two of you. Actually, I don't like your methods." There was a chill in Xinyuan Mie's eyes. "It doesn't matter if you planned for your family's cauliflower, but you schemed against a person who was once innocent and pure. None of the things you didn't hurt her. What do you think will happen when she learns the truth one day?" Xinyuan Mo's face was ghastly pale as he retreated repeatedly, and he had the impulse to flee. "Don't be indecisive when you do things. You should be glad that I have no interest in the throne at all. You know, the thing I hate the most is to be restrained. Father's decree is of no use to me. Remember, Guo is my, Xinyuan Mie's, woman. She is your sister-in-law. Keep a distance from her." Staring at Xinyuan Mo's departing figure, Xinyuan Mie's voice sounded with a hint of coldness. Chapter 453. More than half a year had passed since General Tang's death, and Tangwa's palace was once again bustling with activity. Among them, concubine Ming and a few other high-ranking concubines came the most diligently, almost every day. Since that day, concubine Ming was also infinitely close to Tangwa. This caused the other concubines to think that Tangwa gave her some special treatment. Concubine Ming saw that Tangwa's complexion was good and felt a lot more at ease. I heard that the father and son were sent to the border to pacify those tribes. Concubine Ming said carelessly. Big sister concubine Gu A, do you still remember Nguyen? Tangwa took a sip of tea and smiled. I remember. It's that very low-key Nguyen who rarely leaves the palace to play. Her appearance is delicate and pretty, and her clothes are plain, but the embroidery on them is not ordinary, right? Big sister concubine Gu A has a good memory. Concubine Ming couldn't help but be surprised. That embroidery was embroidered by Nguyen herself. It's said that she figured it out herself. Tangwa smiled but didn't say anything. Ningxiang was indeed very talented in embroidery. There was no other reason. Ningxiang's birth mother was once a very outstanding embroiderer, and Ningxiang's talent was even higher than her birth mother's. Whatever embroidery technique, let her figure it out for 2 or 3 days, and there will definitely be a result. It's just that she has always been low-key, so her reputation hasn't been spread. Host, do you have any thoughts about Ningxiang? The system vaguely smelled something. Tangwa shook her head. No thoughts. She's just a woman deeply in love with an emperor. I don't have any thoughts about her. I just feel that her existence is also very lamentable. Lamentable? This concubine is here. The truth will come out one day. The day Xinyuanimo knows the truth will be the day she ends up miserably. Don't you think it's lamentable? In this world, she should be the only one where the original owner's tragic end didn't involve the female lead. This Ningxiang, how to say it? Because her mother was an embroiderer, she became a Darren's concubine. She was intelligent and knew how to observe people's expressions, so she taught Ningxiang a lot since she was young. Especially when she knew that her daughter was going to enter the palace, she carefully taught her for several months. To be able to sit down and embroider for half a day, it could be seen that she was also a person who could keep her composure. Even now, Ningxiang knew the truth, but she never intended to provoke her in front of her. Instead, she quietly stayed in the golden house that Xinyuanimo built for her, allowing herself to be hidden. From this, it could be seen that he was intelligent, patient, and somewhat scheming. If she succeeded, she could advance. If she didn't, she could retreat. She wouldn't get into trouble at all. She was smart. Xinyuanimo would take care of everything. She didn't need to do anything superfluous that might cause trouble for herself. I'm just looking forward to seeing Ningxiang's performance on that day, Tangwa said with a smile. The system felt that the host's words were filled with malice. Previously, he was still guessing. Could it be that the host appreciated the female lead's intelligence and was planning to save her once? Now, he finally understood that it was impossible. The host was waiting to see him make a fool of himself. The system expressed its thoughts, and sure enough, Tangwa laughed out loud. The person who programmed you must have a screw loose. Why should I help her? I'm waiting to see him make a fool of himself. She and I have no reason at all. The family even plans to work together with Xinyuanmo to deal with my father. It's already merciful not to take the opportunity to add fuel to the fire. The system chuckled. When the time came, wouldn't it be the same whether it added fuel to the fire or not? In any case, the family is the most miserable. No. The most miserable is still Xinyuanimo. Chapter 454. There is cause and effect. In her previous life, Ningxiang became the empress and used up all her blessings. No matter what happens in this life, it's just a cycle of cause and effect. Sometimes when I think about it, it's really unfair. If I want to get results, I have to plan carefully. The male and female leads with halos can just sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor. Tongzi, does the heavenly Tao have ill intentions towards me? System, he really doesn't know. But there are still benefits. After experiencing so many worlds, the things that I have grasped are all my own. They are all in my head. Now, Even if you casually put me naked in a random world, I can still live very well. The system was dripping with cold sweat. It was good that the host understood. It was just afraid that the host would get excited and ask for a groundless gift package. It wasn't that it didn't want to give it, it really didn't have it. It was just a system that only stored the plot and had nothing else. No, its current ability was still okay. It was just that this was the ancient world and there was no internet. It was also very helpless and could only be a listening device. Gue Feijie is in a good mood today. Consort Ming smiled and asked, "Do you want to go to the Imperial Garden to admire the flowers? You've been sick for more than half a year. It's time to go out for a walk." Sure. Tangwa suddenly understood. So spring had come. No wonder the weather was much hotter these few days. But little sisters, please wait a moment. This consort needs to change her clothes. The color of the clothes I'm wearing is too dull. It's not suitable to walk in a garden full of flowers. All the imperial concubines. Change again? How many times does she have to change in a day? The imperial concubines happily walked towards the imperial garden. The beauties stood by the flowers and watched the various blooming flowers. It was also a unique scene. The imperial concubines admired the flowers and recited poems. They got along very harmoniously. Coincidentally, at this time, two familiar people walked over from the other side. Who else could it be but Concubine Lan and Concubine Emma? The two quickly saw Tangwa's group and hurriedly went up to greet them. I really didn't expect to meet Gue Fei Nyang here. Concubine Lan had always been a straightforward person. Is Gue Fei Nyang's body well? When Gue Fei Nyang was seriously ill, us little sisters were worried to death. It's good that you've recovered. This little sister is really relieved. Noble Lady An, on the other hand, bowed respectfully and stood to the side, not saying anything. Even at this time, General Tang died in battle, and the father and son were sent to the border to suppress the rebellious tribes. She was still neither arrogant nor impetuous. She was content to be an invisible person. Tangwa's gaze landed on the sachet at Ngairen's waist. She said with some interest, "That sachet at Ngairen's waist looks quite unique. This consort finds the embroidery somewhat familiar. Can you show it to me?" Ngairen did not dare to disobey. She carefully removed the sachet and handed it to Mei Lan. Tangwa held it in her hand and played with it for a while. Then she smiled and said, looking at it from afar, "It looks very similar to the embroidery method of the sachet that this consort once lost. Looking at it carefully, there are still some differences in the stitches. The embroidery of Noble Lady Anne's sachet is much cruder than mine." All the concubines' eyelids twitched. Imperial Consort Nyang, is it really okay for you to bully a little noble lady like this and show off in front of her? And Ningxiang looked at Tangwa with some surprise. Gue Fei Nyang once had a sachet that was even more exquisite than this one? Yes. Tangwa handed the sachet to Mei Lan and indicated for her to return it to Ngairen. Then she said, "When I was young, I accidentally lost it in an accident." Chapter 455. That was left behind by this consort's mother. This consort's mother was from beyond the Great Wall and was proficient in the embroidery techniques of beyond the Great Wall. Unfortunately, mother's health wasn't good, and she passed away not long after giving birth to this consort. This sachet was given to this consort by father. He said that mother had long prepared this for this consort. When the consorts saw this, they hurriedly comforted her. The embroidery techniques of Beyond the Great Wall are slightly more complicated, and the colors used are also quite bold. It's not like our Central Plains, where the colors have to look exquisite and the colors can't be too messy. But this consort's sachet, when this consort had time, this consort counted it. There were also 88 colors on it. It didn't look messy at all. Instead, it complemented each other very well. If one didn't look carefully, they really wouldn't be able to tell. And Ningxiang gripped the handkerchief tightly. 88 colors. Why did it look so much like the sachet she picked up when she was young? The first time she counted the colors, she only counted 66. As she grew older, she was able to distinguish more clearly. When she counted 88 colors, she was also stunned. If it wasn't for her mother's teachings, she really wouldn't have been able to count how many colors there were. Some colors only had a slight difference. It was really inconceivable that there were so many colors on a small sachet. That sachet was something she picked up by the river when she was young. She had been exposed to embroidery since she was young and thought that it had a lot of research value, so she brought it back. She had indeed figured out many special embroidery techniques from it, but she still hadn't figured them out. She had only learned a few things. After entering the palace, she had left the sachet in her boudoir. Later, she had asked someone to pass a message to her family that she wanted to bring the sachet in. However, her family had sent her a letter saying that they hadn't found it. She could only blame it on being accidentally lost. She felt extremely regretful. Now that she heard Tangwa's words, and Ningxiang's heart thumped. That couldn't really be the sachet that Gue Fei had left behind, right? She had always been cautious. No matter how much she wanted to know, she wouldn't ask. There was a small golden lock in that sachet. It was a gift from this consort's father. Tangwa had a regretful expression. It's really a pity. This time, and Ningxiang couldn't remain calm. She was certain that the sachet belonged to Gue Fei. When she picked it up, there was indeed a small golden lock in the sachet. She was not interested in the golden lock and let it be in the sachet. Instead, she studied the embroidery on the sachet every day. Now that the sachet had been lost, even if it hadn't been lost, and Ningxiang would never admit that she had picked it up, who knew what kind of trouble it would cause? Tangwa glanced at Ningxiang's lowered eyes and found it funny. She rolled her eyes and had a naughty idea. She asked Meilong to prepare a brush and ink. All the concubines thought that she was going to paint or write a poem, but they didn't expect that she would spend an hour to paint a small and exquisite sachet. Here, little sisters, take a look. Isn't the sachet that Bin Gong lost very beautiful? It's even more exquisite than Engairen's. All the concubines looked over. Wasn't that right? What was even more admirable was the imperial concubine's excellent drawing skills. It was clearly a dead object, but she drew it so vividly that they all thought it was real and wanted to touch it. It was as if she had drawn every stitch and thread. Meng Fei stood to the side and looked at the woman with beautiful dimples. Her heart was filled with complex emotions. Her appearance could topple cities, and her drawing skills were superb. It was said that Gue Fei had also practiced martial arts when she was young. If it wasn't for the accident later on, she would have been considered a peerless beauty that was both civil and martial. This kind of woman had actually entered the palace. And Ningxiang looked at the familiar sachet and lowered her head even more. This secret should rot in her heart. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.